smoothly here.
Just to make sure it goes.
Yeah, so it,
here.
oh. Okay, and then I'll just share the agenda so everyone has it. So this first meeting is the Wednesday, May 20th, 9 a.m. Economic Development Committee meeting, and Bongo is our chair this morning, so I will quickly pass it over to him. I just want to remind everyone that this meeting is being streamed live to YouTube right now. It's on our township YouTube channel. And I think everyone, some people are muted right now and some are not. So if you're not speaking, if you want to mute yourself, and I'll try to remember to unmute myself when I'm speaking. And other than that, I'll pass it over to Bongo.
Okay, I hope everybody can hear me all right. Welcome everybody. I will open the meeting and call to order at 9 a.m. this morning, Wednesday, May 20th. Are there any additions or amendments to the agenda? Okay, so we'll proceed to the third point, the adoption of the agenda. Do I need a motion to move forward? Oh, sorry, I can't hear you.
Oh, yeah, I was looking for my unmute. Yeah, so you need to pass the motion to adopt the agenda. So what Jane has been doing is just putting forward two people, one to first and one to second, and then you can just call the vote.
Okay, sure. So first we have Joe Florent, seconded by Councillor Vermeer. And next, a disclosure of pecuniary interest. I don't know if anybody has one. Nope. Okay, none noted. Okay, fantastic. So moving ahead then, the first up would be the presentation by Placemaking Design.
Good morning, everybody. So we've sent the style guide to Holly. So has everybody had a chance to go through that?
Yep.
Okay, great. So we thought we'd start there, and I guess, you know, we could go through it page by page, but since everybody's had a chance to look at it, maybe it'd be best just to start with, does anybody have any questions regarding the style guide?
I think I can just give a little bit of a brief here. So for council and those watching in the public, the intention of this project was, when we started, was to get some standardized style guide. We've been, over the last few years, coming up with some different signage and trying to improve the signage throughout the township. The idea with the some of the funds that we received last year, and then we got the Rural Economic Development Grant this year, is to really improve kind of the overall image, I guess, but also can create some consistency throughout the township. So we'll get into it a bit later, but we also have Beth and Anya have put together our current signage plan. So I think I included that in the email. So it's just a picture of every sign that we have out there right now. And I think it really signifies how little continuity there is. We use our logo sometimes we don't, etc. So the idea of this is to just land on one specific thing and do it consistently going forward. You can see in the style guide, there's, you know, different ways that it will be used, different ways that it'll be stacked, etc., and specific colors that will be used. So most recently we used our current logo and sent it to a designer, and it came back in totally different colors than we've used in the past. So again, you can just see that it's kind of a mishmash of different things. So I think the most important thing is just to come up with one standardized way of doing it and having something to send to designers to say, this is how we're going to use it every single time. So again, this is a starting point. This is the proposed new guide, and you guys are welcome to change it or modify what you see fit or ask questions or give suggestions. So I'll turn it over to council.
Yeah, if I can go ahead, perhaps maybe the designers could just give us a quick summary of page, which page is it? Just a second. On page 4, just for the people that are tuning in on YouTube, just a quick summary of where the logo with the chickadee came from.
Sure.
You want to address this, Anya?
Yeah, I can speak to this. So if we, excuse me, if we can all remember back, I don't know, to February when we came and presented the summary of the community consultation work that we had done. One of the main, it was identified that one of the main assets for the South Algonquin Township is, which I'm sure you'll all agree, is the natural environment. And then closely following along with that was a sense of community and family and togetherness, cultural heritage. And in with that is music is quite popular in South Algonquin. And so we thought a lot and did a lot of research about what kind of a symbol would summarize or bring together all of these different components that people who live in South Algonquin, as well as people who visit South Algonquin, a symbol that could bring all of that together in a way that's sort of appealing to, I mean, you're never going to appeal to everybody, to as many people as possible. And we came up with the chickadee because, so we did a summary of it here. I don't know if you've had a chance to look through it. The chickadee itself works very well from a design perspective, because it's, oh, if you could just scroll down a bit, Holly. It's a very recognizable symbol. It's simple, it's easy to reproduce. It will look good across the large range of media. You can use it in a variety of sizes, and the colors work well in both, or in grayscale and in color reproductions. And it's also another thing to consider when you're looking at design is longevity, and the chickadee itself is timeless. It's not going to go out of style at any point. And then also, I can just go through the other points. Would you mind moving up to the top? That page? Okay. So through the community consultation, chickadees are, so the community life is very important, as I was saying. So chickadees are their social and collaborative birds, which we felt reflects life in South Algonquin. Another interesting point is that in South Algonquin, people have been living in that community for thousands and thousands of years and living there all year round. And so chickadees don't migrate. They're 4-season birds. They really like where they are. And they have a distinct song, which has been described as saying, hey, come and check out what's going on over here. We thought that was a nice thing for South Algonquin to be broadcasting out to the larger world. Chickadees are small birds, but they're really assertive, and they persevere. So it doesn't matter the size of your community. And they represent the natural environment, which is one of the biggest assets for South Algonquin. Also, there was a number of attributes that were brought up in the community consultations, and we felt that the chickadee reflects those attributes that folks self-identified as having in the community. And another interesting little tie is that chickadee is a term used in the logging industry, and logging is obviously a big part of the history and culture in South Algonquin. So any further questions about why we chose the chickadee?
No, that's great. Thanks for that summary. Just a question I have right off the bat, just about the chickadees. Will we have access to just the illustration of the birds?
Yeah, Beth, do you want to talk to that?
Yes. Yeah, this illustration was done by, it was started by Dawn Sherman, who works for the Friends of Algonquin Park. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with Dawn. Actually, she doesn't work for the Friends. I guess she's works for the parks, but she's in the Friends office downstairs. And she's also a graphic designer. And so I contacted her to do this illustration. So it's unique, and it would belong entirely to the township of South Algonquin. Dawn has been paid for her work. I've modified it just to make it more two-tone, but there is an original illustration which is a bit more detailed and more of a sketch, I guess. So yeah, it's completely unique.
And I think if I can just add to that, that's important because, as we know, when we did the logo at the entrances to the township, that logo is created from a collection of clip art, which is images that come from the internet. So when we were trying to put that together, one of the difficult things was that we couldn't find an appropriate picture of a deer. So we used a bunch of different things, but because it's just an image from the internet, you're just plopping it onto an already existing piece of art or a bunch of other different clips. So that was the difficulty that we had. And I think I mentioned in my report that we have a leaf in those signs that doesn't look like a sugar maple to me. But it's, again, just a chunk of, it's not art that we own. It's just a piece from the internet. So that's why it's important that this illustration would be something that belongs to us.
Bongo, would you go to page 14, please?
Yep.
Where to go? Not there?
Loading?
Is it just, oh, yeah, looks like it's loading.
Yeah, it's just taking a bit longer.
Okay. So I included page 14 as an example of how the chickadee element could be used in a variety of ways just to enliven documents. You could use them in promotional materials, whether it's ads or brochures on the website. So there's the chickadee, there's the pine branch, and the pine needles. And if you scroll down a little bit more, please, Bongo. So there's 3 chickadees that have been illustrated by Dawn. And again, they're all yours. And I've also incorporated some birch bark texture, which is seen to the left of that yellow box. And again, it's just a way to make, you know, things look friendly but professional and, you know, warm and inviting, but, you know, it's kind of got a fun little flavor to it as well. So this page just shows a few ideas of how it could be used.
Okay, super. And we would be able to use that image and blow it up if we wanted to, like it has the right resolution?
Great question. So yes, whenever I work on logos, they're all vector-based, which means they're infinitely scalable. So when these illustrations are enlarged, you can make them as big as you want. And I believe I sent Holly, I sent you some photos I mocked up with the trucks yesterday, right? And I was very tempted. I had, I think it was a waste collection truck, and it had a big red belly on it. And I was very tempted to put a gigantic chickadee on it, but I held off. Sorry, Bongo, could I ask you to go back to the document for a minute and go
all right.
to,
I was just gonna,
was that Holly?
yeah, I was just gonna
Oh.
just as you brought those up, I was just gonna show them.
Nice.
So those are just some examples of,
So yeah, where it says, sorry, if you go back up to that truck, Holly, I just thought it'd be fun to have a big chickadee on the side panels, but maybe not necessary.
Good
I
morning,
like the
Dan.
idea personally, as big as you get it. But anyways, no, I mean, it's good to know that we can, like, if we wanted to do something a little bit more creative and a little bit more abstract, just to have the chickadee without the wording, you know, it's good to know that that is an option as an alternate logo, which is
yeah,
great.
it's pretty versatile. And you know, if somebody's going to trade shows or whatever, you can do stand-up banners, large banners. If you want to do, you know, a big banner in town, kind of like what Barry's Bay does across the highway, then yes, these will blow up, no problem.
Yeah. One other. Oh,
Good
sorry.
morning, Bongo. Beth, is there any chance that a pine cone could be incorporated where the pine needles are?
Totally.
I mean,
yeah.
Not
I love that idea.
Not everybody is a tree buff and actually would recognize that as pine otherwise, i.e. me.
Yeah, for sure, Sandra. I love that idea. Yeah, pine cone's a great option.
Thank you.
Dave Harper here. What language is that on that last page underneath the winter events? I can't read. I'm sorry, I can't read that.
That's called lorem ipsum, Dave. So for graphic design, we often just need some filler text. And
I see.
the program that I work with fills in the text for me. So it's
I
just
thought it was some different dialect.
it is it looks like it's a mishmash of Latin and who knows what, but it's called lorem ipsum.
Correct. Thank you.
Bongo, would you mind going to page 13, please, of that style guide? And just show the whole page. Thanks. So this is a typical part of a style guide. So the nice thing about this is it has the colors and it gives the breakdowns for the colors so that when other people are working on signage for you, like when the printers are outputting it, then they know exactly what the color tones are. And also based on the consultation that we went through through the winter, people were really into reds and warm tones. I thought that the blues and the teals would be the way to go, and that's maybe what people would choose. But I guess people had a little bit of fall on the mind. But the nice thing about the reds and the grays and the yellows is they work well for fall colors, but they're also kind of canoe colors. So if you know, when you're trying to attract the Algonquin Park crowd, it's kind of got that red canoe earth tone to it. And the birch bark background is also something that you guys will have, and it is also infinitely scalable. So it's in a vector file as well. And I've incorporated it into the signage, just to give some texture, and so that it's not just a pure white background or a pure yellow background, that it has a little bit of tone to it.
Super. And I was wondering if you could also just summarize a little bit about the tagline.
Yeah, the tagline, you know, we weren't necessarily charged with that duty, but it felt like it was something that needed to be incorporated. So Bongo, if you wouldn't mind going to page 5, please. Because when we were talking to people in the area, somebody had suggested, maybe even Sandra had brought this up, but somebody said that a tentative or an unofficial tagline for the for your area was the wild side of Algonquin, which I still think I think it's a great idea. So I would say we're not, locked in on the tagline, and you don't necessarily need one, but I feel part of I feel like it's valuable. Yeah, you're in a tricky location because you're on the east side of Algonquin Park and you're on the southeast side, but you're not like south. So you're not, to me, the south end of Algonquin Park is Dorset and around that area. So we were playing with the idea of helping to identify the actual location of South Algonquin by identifying it as Algonquin Park's eastern villages, because it seems to us that the economic strength of South Algonquin does rest quite a bit on being next to Algonquin Park. So why hide it? Why not promote it? And with the phrase Eastern Villages, we're like, okay, this gives it a location identity, and villages has a warm connotation. It's also a little bit of a riff or a joke on, New York City's villages, right? Like they've got their Soho Village and their East Village. And so we just, and in talking with Holly a little bit, it sounds like there's not an official designation necessarily for what you have to call yourself, whether you're a hamlet or a city or a town or a village. Like that's open to whoever, whatever you want to call it. So, again, like we're happy to work with you guys on whatever you want to do with this. Does that help, Bongo?
Absolutely, yeah. So the tagline is not final, correct?
No.
No, nothing's final. I mean, everything's, we can change stuff. That's part of what we do. Like, it's just normal process that this is our initial presentation and we're happy to adjust things, and we want you guys to be happy with it. So, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So basically we would, because I see you using the logo with the tagline and then without. So we would be able to use the logo without the tagline if that's what we decided to at the end of the day, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just
And,
wanted to-
maybe you have a tourism version of the logo that says, visit the wild side of Algonquin Park. And maybe you have a municipal version with the logo that says Algonquin Park's Eastern Villages. Like you could use both if you wanted to.
It seems to me we have a geographical problem because we're classified as the municipality of South Algonquin, and then there are eastern villages. To me, that's a little confusing. And the idea of putting Algonquin Parks in there, I don't really agree with that. I don't think, why are we associated with Algonquin Park? Although we are adjacent to the park boundary, yes. But I don't think we should have our own designation, not Algonquin Parks. It looks to me like somebody reading that is going to say, well, Algonquin Park has those villages. I just find it difficult to accept that type of tagline.
That's great feedback. That's interesting. Yeah. I guess I was feeling, and Annie and I were feeling that the economic development strength of South Algonquin does rely quite a bit on visitors and to Algonquin Park year round, as well as not necessarily park visitors, but snowmobilers and ATV users who are using the trails on the east side of, Algonquin Park. But yeah, you don't want to think that the township is within Algonquin Park. So that's an interesting concern. Yeah, I hear you.
Mhm.
Beth, can I add? I always said the quiet side, not the wild side of the Algonquin Park, and we sort of have used the quiet side versus the Huntsville and Muskoka side in preference, because if people don't want the rah-rah of the other side, then this is the quiet side. And I'm not a geography master or anything, but I do believe that there is a definition between village and hamlet and town and city. And I really don't believe that we can classify as a village. I think we are a hamlet.
No, no,
No,
you're wrong.
Okay, I'm not, as I say, I'm not a geography buff. So a city I know has to have a cathedral, but I wasn't sure about the others.
A hamlet is usually less than 100 residents. A village is more so. I agree that why we are termed as a hamlet, where that term came, although it's nice, it refers way back to, let's say, Victorian era, but we are actually a village, or Madawaska and Whitney are actually villages, according to the definition.
Thank you, Dave.
If we were to say the township of South Algonquin on the border of Algonquin Park?
I think it should just be something like the quiet side of Algonquin. Leave the park out of this.
Okay.
Quiet side of Algonquin, because this geographical area in Ontario is considered as the Algonquin Dome. And we are on the quiet side of that dome. So just leave it like, as Sandra, the quiet side of Algonquin.
Okay. And generally, how do you usually, like, I'm wondering if Anya and I should come up with maybe 2 different taglines. Like, would consensus generally come from council voting, or how does this process work for deciding on a final tagline?
I think that we talked in our last meeting about voting for a new logo versus the old logo, and I think as this conversation is happening right now, yeah, we could definitely come up with maybe 2 taglines, or maybe just a tagline, and then we could just vote to use it or not use it. I'll leave it to council to tell me what they think that we should do at the next council meeting.
And just for my notes, so the suggested one is the quiet side of Algonquin. Is that what Sandra and Dave are feeling they like the idea of?
I think it would be more appropriate than what there is right now. Put it that way.
Cool.
Could I just say something? It's Jane. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So as the mayor of the Township of South Algonquin, I've gone to many education sessions, and what they say for the mayor is when you are out anywhere and you are speaking, you introduce yourself and you tell them you have a tagline so that they know where you're from and what you do. And mine has always been introduce myself and state that I'm the mayor of South Algonquin. We are the eastern gateway to Algonquin Park, and we are where everybody wants to be. So something like that. But that, you know, when you're out in Toronto and introducing yourself, that gateway, that eastern gateway to Algonquin Park, at least fixes people's mind on where the Township of South Algonquin is. And I'm not saying that I want, you know, the reference to Algonquin Park being in there, but you know, that's the tagline I use when I'm out and about.
Jane, I think you're correct. I think we exist despite Algonquin Park, not because of Algonquin Park. I also object to the birch bark on the back of the sign, because I think that's a straight borrow from the big sign at the west gate. To me, it just makes the sign look dirty.
Are there any other comments on the logo or the branding that any of the other councillors wish to make?
I'm not happy with that. I dislike the color scheme, like all the red. I think it looks garish. I dislike the birch bark background because I think it's a straight borrow on the big sign at the west gate. And I especially dislike the tagline that kind of implies that we're within the boundaries of Algonquin Park.
I agree.
Joe Vermeer here. My opinion is that lay people don't associate the area with the Algonquin Dome.
I know that.
They associate the area with Algonquin Provincial Park. And I think for us not to acknowledge that in some fashion would be a mistake. I think we need to have some reference to the park in there.
I disagree.
I disagree also.
I would,
Well, that's democracy.
Richard here. There was a comment made about a pine cone. And I'm just thinking of the pine cone in relation to the pine bough, the white pine bough, and the chickadee. And generally a white pine cone would be much larger than the chickadee.
Mhm.
Yep.
So I'm wondering what,
Yeah.
you have, it's everything is relative. I'm just throwing that out to something to think about.
And what does everybody think about the bird illustration?
If I can go, it's Richard again. I thought chickadee next to south on the sign looked good. I had some mixed feelings about the one with the wings all fluffed up.
Looks like a squirrel.
At my first impression, and I thought, well, I'll get a different pair of glasses and relook at it. And on one of your pages, it looks much better, but I think it could be, my thoughts would be if it was, it's just, it's questionable whether it's a chickadee or what it is. And, but the one on the limb looks fine.
Actually, I thought, to be honest, when I looked at it, I thought it was a blue jay. It's the heaviness. I think it's the heaviness of the wings that it overpowers what the little body of the chickadee is. That's just my thought.
I fully agree.
I thought when you look at it quick, the wing looks like a bushy tail on a squirrel.
Joe, that was my impression when I first looked at it last evening.
So that one needs.
But I think I was looking at it at a smaller version somewhere. So I think on page 15.
Yeah, personally, I like the use of the two chickadees. It implies that sense of togetherness that we're trying to imply through the brand. And I like that we have two options of the same animal as well. Again, if we're going to use this logo in all of our documents and in all these different administration purposes, just having a flying chickadee, I think, is very versatile. We can use it in a lot of different ways. That's just my opinion.
Maybe the sketch needs to be refined.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm thinking. I can reduce the black in the wings. It's easy to adjust.
Well, there's lots of them around. We can look at them in flight.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to go ahead and make a quick suggestion. We were talking about possible taglines. What comes to my mind is just simply wilderness village. Just 2 words. It implies both of the things that we're trying to convey, is that we're a wilderness that is apart from Algonquin Park, but also we have these 2 villages where we have arts, culture, and commerce. That's just sort of my suggestion that I'm going to throw out there. Kind of like how people use the word global village sometimes. Instead of being a global village, we're a wilderness village.
But, you know, it's Richard again. When I've been talking to different people myself and they want to know where you're from, and it's surprising the number of people don't know where Algonquin Park is. You know what? It's unbelievable. And it seems like the closer you are to it, the least people know. But anyway, when you tell them that where you're actually located on which highway, you refer to it as the mayor mentioned, the gateway. And I've heard that so many times. So it tells a story, it tells you where you are. Wilderness, it's obvious. And I don't want to be negative to anybody's suggestion. quiet side may be great because it tells you that it's quiet, but also maybe giving the impression that people may not want to, there's nothing to go there for. So anyway, the gateway tells you exactly where it is.
And I think the term wilderness can be frightening to some people. It conjures up visions of bears, and which we have, but just a thought.
Okay, so I think I have kind of 3-ish taglines. What we'll do is take all of the suggestions on the logo itself, as well as the taglines, and I'll put them into a staff report for the June meeting, and we'll put resolutions in that report for you to be prepared to vote on at that time. I think the former conversation was this logo, you know, as we've discussed today, with some tweaks versus the former one. So would you like me to put those two, would you like me to put the logo that we have beside this one in the report?
Sure.
Because that's kind of the decision that we're making.
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
And I have one other question. This is probably more for Holly. And this is a wild question, but Councillor Florence at a previous meeting had suggested about changing the entire name of the township. Is that, I know that's, as I said, it's completely wild of an idea, and I can't believe that we didn't think of it earlier. But I mean, even in this conversation, we were talking about, do we want to be in the shadow of Algonquin Park? Or do we want to stand for something that we are ourselves? So, you know, Councillor Florent had suggested the township of Opeongo. We have Opeongo, I think the non-operating park, Opeongo non-operating provincial park, within the boundaries of our township. Just to play devil's advocate to everything, you know, would that be a more bold decision? Or is it even possible?
I think that council really needs to think about what their priorities are. I think when you think about how many places we would have to contact to change South Algonquin, every government agency, every bank, every, like, changing your name, as I'm sure you can appreciate, Bongo, is a significant thing. And, you know, the footprint of a municipality, that would be a very significant thing. I think that would go, you know, the official plan, all of our zoning documents, every official document. Like, I can't imagine the things that happened during amalgamation, and that's when kind of it was happening across the province. So to just change our name because we don't like it, I mean, when you get out to municipal conferences and you hear other places where they've just, you know, we could have been called Murchison, Lisle, Sabine, Erie, which is what some other municipalities have done. So I think, you know, we should probably pick our evil here. I think that just, I mean, just the brush of things that I can think of that we would have to change is significant, and it would take a significant amount of staff time to change our name.
Can I make a comment? Since it was my initial proposal, I really would prefer the township of Opeongo, but I think we're probably 20 years too late with the idea. Just because of the logistics, but it wouldn't be a precedent to change the name. Kitchener did that, used to be Berlin. It can be done, but it probably not worth the expense. I just want to make an observation on the chickadees, and one of the characteristics that somebody mentioned was about how social they are. And here we are on Zoom, afraid to be social, talking about an emblem that's social. I thought it was a little ironic.
I think we're being extremely social, but in a very 21st century kind of way.
Also, somebody pointed out to me that the logging term chickadee was actually the guys that went behind the horses picking up the poop and throwing it off the trail.
Okay, does anyone have any other questions or comments for Beth and Anya?
Holly, I would like to extend my thanks to Beth and Anya. I think you've done an amazing job. I'm very impressed with the thoroughness of this and the professionalism and the content. When I was looking through it, the fact that you give us all the mixtures for the various colors, etc. I just have been very, very impressed with the work, and actually the feedback through the consultations that you did with the community prior to putting this report together and giving members of our community the opportunity to have input and to give you their feelings, and it's very complimentary to hear back the comments that individuals made that form the heart of this report. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Jane. Yeah, we appreciate that. Yeah, we.
I agree with the size of the pine cone, but maybe little baby pine cones. But is there any chance of putting some green on it, making the needles green? I think to have it black, it seems very bland. Would that be a possibility, to add a splash of green on the pine needles?
Yeah, for sure. On the pine needles, could put some green on it. I guess my concern sometimes combining green with red is you end up looking a bit like Christmas.
That's nice too. I like Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely. I can, do green on the pine needles. Easy to do.
That may be preference to putting some pine cones on or something of that nature. It might be an easier option.
Pine cones are easy as well. I'm pretty flexible, and I can adjust the chickadee a little bit. I will just point out that Dawn, who drew the chickadees, is an ardent birder and naturalist and does nature illustrations for a living.
But I think Richard was pointing out that the pine cone is actually about twice as big as the chickadee.
Well, I don't think we need to be completely literal with the scale of a pine cone. I think it would be okay to put in 2 smaller pine cones because, looking out in my yard, I can see there's big ones and small ones. And if it's pine cones, then it doesn't have to be a white pine branch. It could be, a pine cone from another tree.
If I can ask a question with that. As nice as it would be to add a bit of green into the logo, would that dilute the color palette a little bit more? I'm a little concerned about adding yet another color to the palette.
I agree. I agonize over these things really, really long and hard. So when I, commit to a color palette, it's not random, and I do find reds and greens a bit tricky to put together, but nothing's impossible. And, it would probably change my approach a little bit. Yeah, it might, adding a bit of green might make me want to change the entire color palette.
That's a good suggestion. Why not replace all the red with green?
Yeah, could do that. Mm-hmm.
We had the red canoe symbolism, and all of our new chairs I think are red as well. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So again,
they make green canoes too.
That is true.
It's a vibrant color. It's definitely, it stands out. I noticed, like the collection truck is red, and if you look at some of the sign samples, Bongo, if you could go to the back page. Oh, actually, no, I think it was the document that Holly had. I had mocked up some signs at JR Booth Park, and
Oh yeah.
it just stands out well in the winter time. It works well with the flag of Canada, which has a lot of red on it. And at this point, I feel like South Algonquin does need to stand out. It needs to draw attention to itself. And I'll confess, red is my least favorite color. I don't like the color red, but I really felt, when I do this work, I try to be impartial. And I was like, I think it works for this township. I really felt like it was a good all season positive color. I mean, the other thing is we can make the red a bit darker too. Like maybe it's too bright of a red. Like maybe it needs to be just toned down a little bit.
My opinion would be if we use red, we use Canada flag red.
Yeah, that's a pretty bright red. That's a pure red.
This one here, I may be looking at it wrong, doesn't appear that way. Just a red, but our Canadian flag, when you look at the Olympics or whatever, it's certain the red certainly jumps right out at you. And what happened there?
I just have a question for Holly. Are we going to be able to make this style guide public so that the residents can have a look at it and see where this direction is headed and perhaps take any feedback as well?
Yeah, actually, as the mayor was speaking, I was just going to follow up at the end and mention, so I think with council's approval, we'll put the style guide on the website this afternoon. And just let them know that that council will be voting on it at the June council meeting. Sorry, I've lost track of what month we're in. At the June council meeting, and that they are welcome to provide the feedback to their councillor or a member of council. So yeah, if council agrees with that, I'll do that this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm definitely for it. Yeah, as soon as we can make the style guide public, I think that'd be great.
Fine with me.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say to the brand team, thank you for all your suggestions with the typeface. I think having a streamlined, consistent style of fonts that we're going to be using in all of our PowerPoints, all of our documents, and letterheads and all that kind of stuff, I think that has a nice consistency to the brand.
Great, thanks, Mongo.
Are there any other questions from the council or comments? Okay, well, if not, then we can move ahead with the agenda. And thank you so much, Placemaking Design, for your time this morning. And I'm sure that we'll be in touch again.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to say I've really enjoyed working with South Algonquin on this project. It's been great.
So I'm going to ask Beth and Anya to stay on the line just because the next thing we're going to talk about is the wayfinding. And so if you guys can just listen in on this, just so that you're getting it from council, straight from council.
Great. Awesome. So thank you for introducing us to the wayfinding portion of the meeting. How did we want to jump into this?
I think we'll just go, I'll just, as I did in the staff report. So again, this was a starting point. Beth did the art mock-up. You can see, I think, is that the map that you have behind you there, Beth? Yep. So the first thing that I wanted to mention is there were some members of council that were questioning the scale. And I just wanted to say, so when we get these in the community, they're going to be like on 4x8 sheets. So the intention of the tinier scale was to try to give a realistic representation of what things would look like on the actual map. I know it makes it difficult to review, and prior to actually printing them, we'll be back in the council chambers by then, and we'll get some big printouts so that you can see what it's actually going to look like before we print it on a hard board. So thank you to those of you who submitted, to everyone who submitted comments. Councillor Florence sent me some good screenshots from an app that he has where roads finish and different things that were just incorrect from the mapping that was used. So we'll get those incorporated. I think if everyone's content with the boat launches, just using a boat launch symbol at those specific launches, does everyone agree with those?
Yep.
Okay. The beaches, so swimming
Sorry,
symbols.
Holly. Can I interject just quickly there? You've got one here in Madawaska by the complex, and you're calling it Bark Lake. It really is the river there. It's quite a way till you get into the lake.
Okay.
A good couple of miles before you're actually in what I would classify as a lake.
I think it won't have a name. It will just be a symbol. So I was just using that because I call it behind the baseball field. So I'm sorry for my ignorance, but
yeah,
No,
you're actually
that's what I was just trying to get across.
You
Okay,
did refer
that's
to
fine.
it as a Bark Lake launch. That's not really a problem because you can access Bark Lake from there, but Sandra is right. It's a Madawaska River launch site, but it really, like you said, it's only going to be a symbol. It's not going to say where it is anyway.
Okay.
That's fine. Yeah.
So everyone's in agreement with those specific, and there's no additional that you think we should be symbolizing?
There are a couple that we don't maintain. I don't know if we want to be marking them or not. There's the one at Macaulay. I think you had that one included though.
I did, yeah.
But there is one right at the bridge on Highway 60 on the Uppyongo River too that a lot of people do use, but it's not a maintained boat launch. It's just a gravel launch. A lot of people do use it though.
Yeah, just that's a good point, Councillor Florent, because essentially these signs are going to be directing strangers, visitors to these launches. So yeah, I think we should probably stick to the idea. Are we sending them to the public launches that the municipality actively monitors, which I think is probably the right thing to do, because I can think of, there's probably 50 unofficial launches all over the township that are not maintained by the township. And so, while local residents know where they are and use those, I think it'd be, prudent of the township to streamline all the visitors to sort of like the high traffic access points. I don't know if that makes sense or not. Or
so I think that takes us back to this list, right? If these are the ones that we would consider official.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. And so swimmer symbols, I know we swim everywhere here. When I was a kid, we spent most of our time swimming in the Madawaska River, but those to me are the same. Those are where we're sending people to swim.
Oh, Holly?
Yes.
I would suggest that you take the swimmer from the boat launch and move it up to the end of Lake Street and put the boat launch at number 5.
Yeah, we recognize that was a mistake. Yeah. So we're going to put swimmers at the end of Lake Street where the beach is, at J.R. Booth Park and Tom and McMurray Park. Is that everybody's happy with those swimming locations?
Yep.
Okay.
At those locations, do we have the life rings and signs saying that there is not a lifeguard, etc., etc., etc.?
Yes.
Okay, then they're the only 3 that we should mark then.
Right.
Maybe a suggestion then, maybe would be unsupervised.
On the map?
Yeah.
It says that at the location, but I guess we could.
Tell people before they leave there or go there.
Yep.
But speaking of those, I know people that have been at an old farm for likely 50 years, Sabine Ward, and they didn't realize there was such a nice public beach at Gale Airy. And I'm just wondering, sometimes maybe in our newsletter we could, I know it's a bit off topic, but just thought about it, that maybe we should say something. And another thing is, when I reviewed this, I just didn't envision it as a signboard, which I believe we need in the community. I thought it might have been used as a placemat in the restaurants. So I think I commented about the size of the printing that I absolutely couldn't read. And that's what I was thinking about. I thought of it two ways. So, and do we not feel that it might be used that way? Because you definitely see where you've had dinner likely over the years where they've had placemats of the community.
Can I address this, Holly?
Yes.
So Dave, yeah, I think that's a great idea. I love the idea of using these placemats or having it available on a smaller scale. When I set this up, I was told it was going to be a large map. So I did, it's not my first rodeo. I've done a lot of maps over the years. And some of the ones that you might see in your neck of the woods is I did that big ATV map for Renfrew County, the one that said all their trailheads. So that was the scale I was envisioning when I set up this map. But part of what I do too, because I have done this quite a bit, is that all the text on this map is set up with a style sheet. So what I can do is if you guys decide that you want this as a placemat or whatever, is, with one click, I can make all the text 3 times bigger, 10 times bigger, or whatever it needs to be for different uses. It would take a little bit of nudging around just because once the text does get bigger, it's going to run into all the little roads and things like that. But yeah, there's definitely some versatility there. And just tell me what to do. I'm happy to comply.
Well, my thoughts initially were, it's Richard, by the way.
Oh, sorry, Richard.
That you're kind of realign it. I know it looks attractive on the angle, but I just thought that personally, if the swamp was removed, the swampland, we are in a land of lakes, so it's obvious, lots of lakes. So we didn't really have to show that. That's my thoughts, but it might look good. And if we just rejigged it so everything was straighter, from your point, it looks maybe more attractive. But I'm thinking of, if we're going to show the people, show them as much as we have to offer. And I was thinking of straightening it up a bit and just having the 2 communities on the extreme right where it would show, and they could be blowing up as large as possible to show everything that we really do have to offer. And anyway, that's my thoughts.
It's Jane. Could I just add to that, Richard? I think your idea of placemats in restaurants is a good idea, but maybe something as council we could tuck away in our mind is perhaps it would be a really good idea to have placemats at any of our functions in our community halls, etc., the church supper, have this available, as something from the township to those organizations. We get lots of people coming in for the church supper. If we had these placemats available at those events, I think we would get South Algonquin word out to a lot of people.
Good idea.
Would create a lot of extra garbage.
True, but it'll keep our forestry industry going.
That's right.
That's our job.
Can I ask Beth or Anya what the big black blob is just to the east of Madawaska on the map, just underneath the car?
Oh, it's logs. It's a log pile.
Okay.
You're probably looking at a very small, very low resolution version of the map. But again, everything's, open to change. I'm not emotionally attached to anything here. I'm just trying to make a friendly, user-friendly kind of fun map that will engage visitors and make people want to look at it. And
Okay.
kids as well, right?
It kind of looked like a bear's head, and there is a lake there called Bear Lake. So I was going
I can get a bear drawn. I can do that.
Just our process for the map was to work with an illustrator to come up with some iconic images from around South Algonquin, and having them in illustration form just gives another dimension to the map. And as you said, Beth, appealing to children and adults. It just makes it a bit more fun and engaging.
If the pile of logs was supposed to represent the lumber mill there, it's on the wrong, you have it on the wrong side of the river.
Okay, noted. Yeah, this is great. Like I definitely need help with the map. And, you know, when I handed this over to Holly, I was like, yep, I know it's going to need changes. It's an actual direct, I used a foundational map, which was supplied to me that looks like it's the one, that map that you sent me, Holly, it looks like it's the one that you guys used for the township. Do you remember? I've got a copy of it here.
I don't remember.
It's called the Large Township Map.
Oh, that's from, yeah. So Tracy, are you on the line? I think that you supplied that to Beth. Is that from our GIS system?
Yes, it is, Holly.
Yeah.
It's a large one that we have in the council chambers. It's a snippet of that.
Okay. So I literally took that map and I was able to edit it. So the foundation is identical to that map.
Okay.
Well, there's a lot of errors in our map then, Tracy.
There are, and I actually also compared it to Google Maps as well. And I was like, okay, there's a lot of things change. Like I revised a map guidebook for the area for the Madawaska River, and I was pretty stunned to realize how much the roads have changed over 20 years. Or even 30 years. It's like, okay, that road's not there anymore. This one has changed. This one's longer. So yeah, it's good to get feedback on how to update this, because it would be nice to launch it feeling good that, you know, I mean, nobody's going to use this to drive around with, obviously. Like nobody's going to hold it in their car and reference it and say turn left here, but it's just to inspire people to explore the area and visit South Algonquin and see it as a place to stop rather than just going to Algonquin Park.
Yeah, I find Google Maps is notoriously incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so just going back to the staff report there, where did we end off at?
So I think, yeah. So I think that we agreed on the swimming holes. I have the picnic areas marked, J.R. Booth, Gallery, and Tom and McMurray. I feel like those are the three that I think of when I think of picnic areas, but it's obviously not everywhere we have picnic tables. So I just wanted council to confirm that they're okay with those locations.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
Is there a park, a picnic park owned by the ministry?
There's one in Madawaska. Is that the one you're referring to, where the outhouses are just outside of town?
That's right. Yeah, that's within our border, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Is that one included?
No, but we can put in maybe an MTO park, or yeah, we can put a symbol there as well. Yeah.
That's Holly. That's the one that's
beach in Whitney. Holly.
East of Spectacle Lake Lodge, or just west of it. Is that right? On the north side of the highway?
It's on the north side of the highway, just east of the Upyongo River.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
Sorry, Richard, did you say something?
The beach in Whitney. It's got picnic tables and it's, well, as you know, pretty active with people around there.
Yeah, I just feel like we need to be careful about how many symbols we get in one location. So if we're swimming there and people go there and swim and have a sandwich, it might start to get cluttered if we also have a volleyball net there. We also, there's other stuff. So I don't know. Do council think that we should be putting a symbol everywhere we have a picnic table?
Yeah, I'll just jump in. I agree with you, Holly, that probably overloading the map would kind of do a disservice to the visual aesthetic of the map. And I'm gonna bet that most people, when they see a beach icon, will bring their sandwiches and their picnic anyways.
Well, both J.R. Booth and the beach in Whitney have very similar activities. So if we're going to put one at J.R. Booth.
And that's a good point. I guess J.R. Booth is also going to have a playground symbol. So maybe we can work with Beth to put the symbols on there, and then we can decide what we take off.
I'm only suggesting anyway, regardless.
Okay. Okay, so going back, playgrounds, I just want to confirm, so Lester Smith, Tom and McMurray Park and JR Booth, and then we just do have a swing set at the M&L Hall. Do we think that that warrants a playground symbol, or do we just?
Not only is there a swing set, there are picnic tables and a shade area, covered area at the hall. So I think it needs to be somewhere that people can just pull off the road.
Is that really a place that we're encouraging people to pull off the road when JR Booth is just right around the corner though? I feel like, personally, I think that M&L Hall swing sets are really more a local thing, but I'll leave it to you guys.
I agree with you, Holly, and they were used fairly often before the improvements to the JR Booth Park. I think we certainly don't need two in Madawaska, and we're spending our money and making improvements at JR Booth Park, and maybe a little bit to the expense of the other playground, but the other playground is getting very old and it's dated, and if we're going to maintain it, it's going to cost the township money. I think we're better to encourage people to use the JR Booth Park instead.
I agree with you, Joe. I agree. That park is so pretty. It's so nice.
It is. Okay, so no symbol at the M&L Hall. We'll put symbols at all the outhouses. And then both rec complexes, I think we'll come up with like a little skating rink type symbol for those two locations. Beth and I had talked about maybe reducing the color contrast of Highway 60 just to make it a little bit less outstanding. And then, so truck and trailer parking on Hay Creek and Major Lake Road, those big trailer parking areas that we created, we'll sign those as well or symbolize them. And then those details are just things that had come in, both landfills, the trestle, the daycare, EMS fire department, post office, LCBO.
On the LCBO, if we're going to have a sign pointing them out, we probably should point out the one in Madawaska too.
Right.
LCBO.
Yeah. I'm going to remove the hospital symbol from the map because the Whitney Family Health Team doesn't take people off the road. So I don't think that they'll take them in an emergency situation, but they want to be known as a family practice that has that is for locals only. So they don't want us advertising them that way.
Sorry about that, Holly. That was my fault.
No, that's okay. I think that's just a long-standing issue here. It used to be called a health post or a medical center, and now it hasn't been for years, but I think it's just the way people think of it. So then those 3 through 7 are just really details that need to be. So right now, Sunset Trail is referred to as Cottage Road. We'll fix that. I made a mistake here with Kenny Lane. Kenny Lane is a public access, but we'll take any reference to private. If anybody noticed any private roads that are on there, if you can just bring them to our attention. We'll take the fishing character off of the boat launch in Whitney because we don't want to encourage people to fish there because of in the way.
Holly, on the little map of Madawaska down in the corner, All-Star Lane probably should end at that second corner where All-Star Resort is and not show that loop up because that's only private residences.
Okay.
Up. And also I'll leave it up to Sandra, but on that map, Lansdowne Lane, there's no way of knowing that until you go in there, that it's a private drive actually.
So maybe that's one that should be taken off then.
Well, that's up to Sandra, but at least if you're not going to take it off, show it that it ends like it dead ends. Right now it shows it going off the map. So it kind of appears to be a new road or something.
Holly, you're taking notes?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody had suggested to put the landfills on the map. I'm going to politely challenge that idea just because I think that these wayfinding maps will be for visitors. And I don't think we necessarily want to send our visitors to our disposal sites. And the daycare, I'm wondering if people might think that by putting the daycare there, they might think that that's like a babysitting service or something like that. So I also question whether we need to put that on the map as well.
It's interesting when you think about, I think we think about who's going to use these and what they're going to, you know, who's going to stand in front of them. And I thought from a landfill perspective, we have a lot of cottagers who might use this to explore the new place where they bought a cottage. So that's where I was thinking about the landfill perspective. And the daycare, I think, so what if it's someone here looking for real estate and they're just, you know, getting it, scoping out what's actually here. Oh my gosh, they have a daycare in this little town. How cool is that? So that was kind of where I was coming from with that, but I'll leave it up to council to talk about.
I think, Holly, it's Richard again. I think I suggested daycare also maybe. And I just thought we wanted to display and show as much as we have within the community. I thought about the landfills, was going to mention it, and I don't believe I did, for the simple reason I thought it might encourage people to go there looking for what we're trying to tell the people. We don't want them, why we don't want them to go to the landfill, especially after hours. And everybody wants to see a bear. There some years it's better to see them than others, but we're telling people not to go. So I had mixed feelings, and I think anybody coming to our area,
we'll get a waste calendar.
Yeah, they're going to look at our website. And again, we talk about having a big board to show all this, and then I'm hearing messages where somebody might be taking their map with them, so that they may have picked up in the restaurant. So I just hear both sides here. So
okay, do most agree that we shouldn't put the landfills on, and that maybe that is a place for the waste calendar?
I think it's yeah, it's for our website for our residents, and unless
No, I agree.
To be honest, I have told people, have asked me where our dump is, and I've told them because I have to be honest. But I've also said you have to be careful. So,
right.
You know, I guess I'm being a hypocrite, but you have to. I've gone there myself years ago to do the same thing, and likely others have. So.
Okay.
And you know, and both those areas are gated. That basically says stay out. So personally, I don't think they should be on the map.
Okay.
I also think, I know this is a completely sort of off topic really, but those landfills are for residents of South Algonquin. And they clearly say that at the one, you know, the Bark Lake Mall, you know, down at the beginning of for Barry's Bay. It clearly says for the residents of Madawaska Valley only. Maybe we should be putting that too.
I think it
and
does.
Yes, it really is only for residents. So the landfill doesn't need to be it's actually a negative thing for town people to see. They don't like the thoughts of landfill. So maybe we should leave it off.
Okay. Great.
Holly, can I jump in about the mapping? When we're going through it, it says add 1st and 2nd Avenue and Cottage Road. I'm not sure that, I know our maps are correct in that. So I don't know, Anya or Beth, did you get it from Google as well at one point?
It might be the scale there. Those 1st and 2nd Avenue, it might be just the fact that it's so fine there that it couldn't be fit in.
Okay, because I know that Sunset Trail is correct on our maps. That's what is making me think that it could be was by another source as well. Because I know our map is correct in that one, but I'll have a look.
Yeah, we can look at that next week for sure. Okay, so going back, we're taking the landfills off. Daycare, any discussion about that?
I agree with you, Holly. I think it should be there. It's you know, it's a very important part of our community.
Well, landfills are pretty important too.
Oh, I agree.
It shows it's positive, and it took a lot of effort to get it there. Holly, I guess you're well aware of that.
Well, it sounds like most of the council is leaning towards leaving the landfills off. Perhaps maybe the design team can include a daycare icon. And if it is too decluttered, or sorry, if it is too cluttered with icons, then we can revisit that that discussion when we're looking at it.
Okay, great. So I think someone had suggested that we add an arrow indicating the direction to Bancroft down the 127. Ottawa and Algonquin Park are already there. Ottawa and Algonquin Park are in the pop-outs right now. I just wondered what people thought about putting them at the township boundaries instead.
I'm fine with it, but if you're going to include Bancroft, also include it on 523.
And so is Bancroft the appropriate? Because I feel like we're using Bancroft in the 127, and then we're using all the way to Ottawa on the other one. Should we say Barry's Bay?
Well, when I'm describing to people where I live, like the mayor does, I always tell them I'm exactly halfway between Huntsville and Renfrew. So I don't know, that's each end of Highway 60. You actually can't get to Ottawa on Highway 60, but you can get to Renfrew.
I could put to Barry's Bay, Renfrew, and Ottawa. Like there's room there. I think those are good, valid points. Like I know when I'm talking to people, I usually have to throw out several towns to tell them where I live until they figure it out. Oh yeah, I know Renfrew, or oh yeah, okay, Barry's Bay. So yeah.
Okay.
Equally, it could say Maynooth, Bancroft, and Peterborough.
Totally, that's a great idea, Sandra. Yeah.
And then on that same token, it could say Algonquin Park, Huntsville as well.
Yep.
And then again, when we're looking at the revised draft, then we can decide if it needs to be decluttered, if there's too much information, you know. So cool.
Okay.
Those letters that say to Whitney and Algonquin Park, they're each a ½ an inch high on the full size map. So I've also got some room to reduce the size of that text.
I think the full size map, there's going to be lots of room on it, but when you're using the size of a placemat, there won't be room for a lot of those things.
Right.
I think the placemat, we'll just, like, I'll pick up this map and adjust it. We'll just make something that's specific for a smaller use. We'll, you know, it can be done for sure.
Okay.
Yep, no problem.
The businesses, there's been kind of mixed emotions on this. We did make an effort to kind of indicate the types of businesses. So we have motels and we have gas stations, etc. on there right now. We don't have any indication of actual businesses or business names. So Beth and Anya and I have kind of had a bit of conversation about this. We aren't sure, obviously the risk of putting actual businesses on the map are that if they come and go, we have a couple for sale in Whitney right now. We have a couple that we know are applying for land use changes. So they could change within the next 6 weeks or 6 months or 6 years. So council needs to just consider that. One of the things that Beth and Anya and I had discussed was I think it's pretty obvious that most members of council don't agree with the portion of Aylen Lake that we've put on there in the pop out. So we could remove that and put kind of a panel there that is a list of businesses, and then that could be easily changed if needed. Or we could do a sticker system where if something changes, you know, it could be taken off. But I kind of wanted to open it up to council to see what you guys thought about businesses and how we should be representing them here.
Excuse me, Holly, could I, sorry, I just got kicked out for the 3rd time. And I don't know if that's happened to anyone else, but the first couple of times it just rebooted itself after maybe a minute. And this time I was out like for 2.5 minutes and had to get right out and get back in. So I guess.
It's happened to me too, Richard.
Pardon?
This is Joe Vermeer. It's happened to me as well.
Okay, so I guess what I'm wondering, if very quickly, we were at daycare, and if you could just go make very quickly and say what we've did since that.
So we just talked about including the daycare, and then we're going to change the where it says to Algonquin Park and to Ottawa. We're going to include to Barry's Bay and Renfrew in the Ottawa side, and then we're going to include to Bancroft and Peterborough when you go down the 127 and across the 523. And that's all we've really talked about.
Okay, thank you very much.
And now we're talking about businesses. How much of that did you hear?
I just heard the last sentence that you talked about.
Okay.
Talking about businesses, so
essentially council needs to decide how we're going to put the businesses on the map. The concern is if they change, or if names change, or style of business changes, how do we update the map then? So the options are, we could put a list of businesses where the Ale and Lake pop out was, or we could use some kind of sticker system and try to update them as they change. So I'll leave that to council to discuss. I've given you a list of potential inclusions here. Some of them are probably long-standing. I'll leave it to you guys to discuss.
If we use a symbol to signify motels or accommodations or camping, change of ownership shouldn't affect the whole thing unless the campsite closed right down. I guess that's a possibility too, but it's not as likely as just changing hands.
I agree. We should be indicating the type of business it is, but as being so specific in indicating the name of the business, I don't agree with that. Just have you have a gas station, you have a restaurant, and leave it at that.
I fully agree. As in my earlier forwarded comments, I think we should show as much as we can. And it was kind of difficult when we had restaurants that were showing, I believe, or we had a gas station and there was actually a restaurant with the gas station. So it almost like they're going to be tiered or whatever. So I think we should show as much as we can. And if it's gift shops, fine. We show, because I see another one has sprung up in our community along Ottawa Street or Post Street or whatever. So that's what it's all about. Telling the people what we've got in the community and be proud of it.
Okay.
I think that we have to be very inclusive, though. We've got a lot of businesses that aren't on Highway 60. There's significant businesses out in Sabine Township. And, you know, I think we have to be cognizant. I agree with you, Richard. We need to show them all, but maybe we need to do something separate and get a business directory, or, you know, the BIA or the Business Association, I think, is working on something like that too, but it seems to be pretty much related to the resorts. And there are, as I say, significant other businesses within the community. So I don't know if this map is, you know, do we want to get ahead of this and then do the businesses? Although I know they will be upset, I suppose, if they're not on it. And I understand that.
Well, I did think there was a difference between, I believe I mentioned, a difference between motels and lodges. Motel to me is just a stay, but sometimes it's just an overnighter and that's it. But lodges are differently, and in the lodges, I was thinking Spectacle Lake Lodge. I was thinking, I'm not sure what's down that Red Deer or whatever down in the 523, but I was thinking of Hay Lake, and I was thinking of Bear Trail and Adventure Lodge. These to me are there's almost like two-tier lodging. And there was the motel, and I'm not putting anybody down, but I was just thinking it should be. And you know what, 6 or 7 or 8 heads here, and maybe we can get it right.
Usually on maps that I've seen, they just show a bed showing that there's accommodations at those places. I don't know if they use any other symbol other than a bed and a dinner plate.
Yeah, I almost wonder if there's a way for the design team to basically communicate that go to the village or villages for food or lodging or gas or groceries or LCBO in such a way so that it is, I guess, generic, so that it's fair to everybody. Just head to the villages, and then perhaps maybe, I think it was Jane that had mentioned the idea of some sort of a business directory. Maybe there's an opportunity for the businesses or the BA to kind of have their own, I don't know whether it's like a cork board or something else that is more evolutionary and changes a little bit through the seasons and through over time, so that we have, our official township map that at least visitors can look at it and in 2 minutes, they can say, okay, yeah, I want to launch a boat. Here's where I'm going. I need some food. This is where I'm going. And then the specifics of what those services are perhaps could be an additional thing, whether it's to the side or maybe on the other side of the wayfinding map, something like that.
But when we talked about lodging is it's a necessity here. There's limited amount. It's extremely busy in the summer. It's likely full to capacity. So, but it's to say what type or show where some was indication of a bed with a fork or whatever, or utensil, and some don't have that. So I just thought there was two styles there of accommodation, and I don't know what Bongo has, I think, but anyway, maybe they're housekeeping. So I don't know. He's maybe the best guy to ask on this.
I think the decision needs to be made probably to start with is council going to include specific businesses or not? Because if you decide that you're not going to decide specific businesses, then it's a lot easier to focus on coming up with generic icons for, groceries. And for sure you could have a symbol for a lodge that's a little bit different than a symbol for a motel or a hotel, and a symbol that's maybe a little bit different for a hostel accommodation or a cabin accommodation. If you're going to go the business route and including all the businesses, forewarned, that is a lot more work than working with what's existing. And I think somebody had suggested early on that perhaps the township come up with a generic map and just have icons for, this is where you get gas, this is where you can get alcohol, this is where you can sleep. And then if the businesses want to work, I guess it would be with me and Anya directly, and they would pay us directly, then we can alter the map for the business people.
And I think a large,
sorry, Jane.
Oh, the quiet economy that we have in South Algonquin is a very significant Airbnb community as well. And I know they're advertised, and you go on, we have a huge Airbnb community within South Algonquin.
I think we're failing to appreciate here, everybody has a cell phone. If everybody puts in South Algonquin accommodation, you should have internet presence. If you're running a business, you should be popping up or on a Google search or a Safari search. So I don't think we need to be as specific on our maps. Just this is an area where there are sleeping accommodations. People can look them up. I don't think that people are going to be using the map as much as we think they are anyway, because everyone that I know that is going anywhere always looks stuff up online before they go, and they have their maps and their cell phones with them. So I think we need to just be generic on this map. As Jane said, you can get groceries here. This is the highway corridor. Off of that, or really close to the highway, there's a couple of places where I could stay if I wanted to, and they will go online and look up the specifics and phone numbers and names of places. I think we're getting into the mud, and we shouldn't be. I think it should be more generic.
And I think in following along with that too, Sandra, like it's important to include on this map and to perhaps emphasize the things that are hard to search for online, which are the picnic tables and the beaches and, you know, and places where there are rest stops and places where you can get out of the car with your kids for free, you know, and take a break and enjoy being in the township.
So Beth, you're basically saying that whatever isn't a township maintained facility, we don't put on here. We maybe have a side show and put a list of items to the side, or we don't put any of that at all. And it'd be quite simple if we just went with whatever the township has to offer.
I still feel like you should definitely say there's a restaurant here and there's a gas station here. But yeah, you're trying to get people to spend their money in your township. And if they know that they can get groceries at Whitney instead of going into Lake of Two Rivers, you know, like Lake of Two Rivers is packed. And people need to know that there's a Fresh Mart in Whitney where you can get great groceries and for half the price. So it's like, how do you keep, that's the focus. So yes, I think if the businesses want a business version of this map, I think it behooves them to reach out and work with me on that. Or I can give them the map, you know, with your permission, because you guys own this map. Like I can give them the foundation and they can take it and they can add whatever they want to it.
Yeah. And I also would just like to say too that the township has got SABA and the Chamber of Commerce who can be working on these more specific ways to support individual businesses. Yeah.
I think you're quite right. We should be generic that you can get a groceries, there's accommodation, but we be more specific about the activities, i.e. children's playground, swimming area, boat launch. I think that's what we need to promote and leave the businesses not to their own, because we need to support them, but I think they need to be or have their own online presence and their own advertising and their own way of, once people are here, how do they get people to their specific business?
Well, and the fact that you put an investment into this map, you are supporting the businesses, and if you do make it available to them, then I think that's really, you are adding value to them. Like this is, you know, this is a good gift.
I mean, when we owned All Star Resort, we spent a lot of money on online advertising and making sure our specific taglines were correct and they were trolled correctly, and we actually, you know, worked hard ourselves from a business point of view to make sure we had a presence. And I don't think the township can be asked to do any more than that, other than, yes, there is a restaurant. It's down for people to look up the specifics and the phone numbers and booking a table and booking in advance and making sure. I really think that we're doing all that we can here, and we don't want it to look cluttered. And if it's cluttered, people won't look at it anyway. They'll just move away or go to their phone. Maybe we should be posting somewhere where they can pick up Wi-Fi or good Wi-Fi signal.
Well, that's a good one. Yeah.
And then they can do the rest themselves. People are pretty switched on.
And you know what? The businesses have awesome websites. Our local businesses have very impressive websites. So I think that's the Wi-Fi locations is a great idea.
Okay, so I think that's enough for us to continue. So some specific, so the cenotaph, I think that's a great recommendation. Cemeteries, I have had people call my office and say that they're looking for cemeteries. So I think that if people agree, that I think that would be a good inclusion. And I have a question about churches, because I don't even honestly know which ones are operational right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you guys think about that. I know they're beautiful facilities within our communities, but I don't know how many of them. I know that there are a few that, you know, one specifically that's changed hands is now just a residential property. and a few others I think that are sitting dormant. So I'll leave that to you guys to discuss.
In Madawaska, the Anglican Church doesn't have the status anymore. It's called a chapel, I think. They do have a service at Christmas, but that's the only time of the year. But all the churches in Madawaska have cemeteries attached to them, as well as the big cemetery out where the cenotaph is on 523.
So maybe that's the answer then. Maybe all of the churches that are operational right now do have a cemetery, and maybe if we just identify the cemeteries, that would be enough.
Probably.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about that one, and I thought about it, and I was kind of disappointed to see the cemetery marked along the road out here in 127 last year. So there's been vandalism at them.
Anybody that's into local history, the cemeteries are a fantastic source of information.
Oh, there's no question, Joe. My wife's been working on the Shala heritage here all winter and talking about tombstones from Poland to Wilno, and talking about us going into Renfrew and different various places where they've settled. So I'm aware of that, but I guess I'm just thinking of, and it's happened as close as Maynooth, where there's been damage of tombstones that'll never be replaced. They just don't have them anymore. And I'm just, I just had mixed feelings about whether that one should have been, tip somebody off the wrong way, where if somebody is interested and they do call the township, they will get the direction and the message they need. And anyway, that's my thoughts. And every once in a while, you do hear it on the news where there's been damage in cemeteries.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, it is, if I can just put in my 2 cents. What you're doing with this map, you are saying these are all of the places that we invite anybody to come to at any point, and it's open and safe to a certain extent. There's going to be that expectation that these places are safe to visit. And so if you just think about that when you're thinking about all the different sites, that might help you to decide where you do want to be sending people.
Okay.
So going back to that question, are we, how does the majority of council feel about cemeteries and churches then?
I would show the churches. I wouldn't show the cemeteries. And that was Richard.
Okay.
I have some concerns with cemeteries too. I know we've got very fragile markers in the ground in some of our cemeteries that show the death of infants in the influenza. And, you know, if someone is interested in their heritage, they may come to the township office and ask where the cemeteries are. And then that I feel is legitimate, but to make them a destination, I have some reservations about that as well.
I think adding the churches is important. I think people are often looking for a place to worship. So I think the church, but not the cemetery, perhaps.
Actually, the cemeteries are all online. You can have a virtual walk through any cemetery in Ontario, and maybe all of Canada, but Ontario for sure, because I've done some of it. You can actually look at every tombstone in the graveyard online.
Okay. So then I guess that answers it. We won't put the cemeteries on. So if we're talking about the churches, I would say I can double check, but it's my understanding that the Catholic Church is the one that's operating right now. And I think the last information I had was that the United was maybe meeting in the Catholic Church in the wintertime or something. I could be totally wrong, but I can maybe.
United Church in Madawaska is operational.
Sorry, which one?
United Church in Madawaska is operational.
So we'll do those two, and maybe I'll check. And so you're sure, Joe, that none of the other is not? You just said that it's been
the Anglican Church in Madawaska is not operational right now.
And is there?
Ollie, I can answer some of that too. The Anglican Church in Whitney is open They have a few different Sundays that they don't go in, but I believe the United Church is using the St. Anthony in Whitney at the Anglican Church.
Oh, okay. Okay. So,
Yeah.
so we can figure that out and get those details to Beth then. Okay. So another suggestion was lumber mills. I feel like lumber mills are a part of heritage. I was having a discussion with one of the owners not that long ago and asked him what he thought, and he didn't have any problem with it. But I guess if we're putting lumber mills on, is the question going to be why that business and not others? And so do we just leave them off? Or do we just put a symbol of logs like that's there? What do you guys think?
I guess you treat everybody equally.
Okay.
And that was my suggestion. One of my suggestions was to put the lumbering on, because I thought it was a major employer. But the same with outfitting. I thought that was extremely important. But I guess we gotta.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing is we do have another project that Chris Fullerton's working on to put some storyboards up. So, you know, there might be an opportunity to do some snowshoe history, maybe a storyboard on that, or maybe a storyboard on the mills. So maybe that's the way we could catch those ones.
But people mentioned earlier, they're planning their trip generally before they arrive and get complete outfitting or partial outfitting. So, but
okay,
an outfitter that's been here for over 75 years, same family business. I just thought it was important. But anyway,
I think again, Richard, I think we can be generic. I think we can put outfitters, or I think we can put mill.
That's
but
great.
If we leave the names off, then we're not pulling those businesses out. And they are important to the township. The fact that there's the canoe outfitters here in Madawaska, and obviously Avery's down in Whitney. But if we just put the word outfitter on the map, we're not naming them. We're being less specific, and I think that is a safer thing to do, to be fair to everyone else.
I can agree with that.
Okay.
And again, with the mills, we can just put wood mill. We don't have to put a name on there. As I say, and people will look it up online. Wood mill in South Algonquin. They'll come up with the two. Maybe they'll come up with a few extras, you know, outside the township too. But the two specifics will come up most definitely. Let's not underestimate how resilient and how clever people are looking stuff up.
Okay.
I'm just going to jump in here. With regards to the question about do we include the mills, I mean, that they're very essential to our economy and our history as well. But again, if you're looking at this map from the perspective of a visitor that is here for the first time, they're looking for some place to go. You know, perhaps if the mills gave tours, then I would understand that a little bit more. But do we want to be sending, you know, first-time visitors to the mills through this map? And while I do want them to be included, perhaps, as you mentioned, Holly, maybe in some artistic way with the log illustration or something like that, and then perhaps maybe talking about the mills a little bit more in the eco museum format. I think that would be a little bit more appropriate, just because, again, you know, we have to ask ourselves, do we want to be sending people to these mills if they do appear on the map? That's just my 2 cents about that. And I think the next thing on the list was the trails. Well, there's also garages as well.
I think that we've already talked. We can figure that out with that. The garages. Yeah, it's the same situation as the motels and everything else. So the trails, yes, as I've stated here. So we have the rail trail that is, I would call it a multi-use, non-maintained, everybody and anyone can use it, and it is, you know, the property is owned by the Crown in both directions, and that's, you know, there's snowmobile agreements in place, etc. So I don't think that there's any concern about the rail trail. But I have been approached by private owners who are concerned about the OFSC agreements and the trails that are being crossed, or sorry, the properties that are being crossed, there's actually gates all over between here and Lake St. Peter, trying to keep people off private property. And, you know, we know that ATVers, I am one myself, and they're causing, I guess, angst everywhere. So I'm a little bit concerned about that trail specifically, just because I think that it's probably going to be close to ATVers at some point, or it maybe parts of it are right now. So I'll open that up to council. Maybe we could, you know, indicate the rail trail as a multi-use, and then clearly state that the trail from Whitney to Lake St. Peter and Whitney to Halliburton are managed by the OFSC. The OFSC does do put a lot of energy into their maps, and they do a lot of work constantly. So I think, you know, deferring to that map is probably a logical thing to do as well. Again, I'll open it up to you guys.
Ollie, I guess no one's going to say anything. I'm nervous about the trails. I thought the snowmobile trail should have been on there, the one from Whitney to Madawaska and down through Adel Lake area. That to me is it's an organized, managed trail by the snowmobile club. Certainly not by the ATV club in our township, I don't believe. But the other ones that were leading people, like on the power line to the Shell Lake area, and the ones that were into hardtack and there, I don't think we should be putting them on. And also the same trail that where we go north of Highway 60 through the Johnson property, and then we're going through Ostrowski property. We're going through about 4 properties there that are private property. And I don't think we should be advertising those that way. Plus, I think the liability that might go with some of those, because you're well aware from living here, as everyone else likely is, some of them trails and some of those washouts that we've had on that power line going north out of Whitney across the Madawaska River there were times when you couldn't even get up with a 4-wheeler. So, and I'm just thinking of people getting lost and tying it into our emergency management services. And I think some of those trails should not be on there. And
Okay, thank you. So I guess in summary, we're comfortable with the rail trail being indicated as a multi-use. And beyond that, we will stay away from snowmobile trails. Is that what I'm hearing?
I'll jump in. Yeah, I do agree with Richard in that, you know, there's really 2 types of users that will come and visit the township. The day visitors that literally arrive in one of the villages and will ask me or anybody, where can I go for a walk? You know, that's all. They just want a like a 1 to 2 hour walk where they can see some sights, have a picnic, and that kind of stuff. And I don't think that this map needs to send people into the more advanced trails that go to hardtack and you know, those more advanced areas for more wilderness experienced people. So in my opinion, the trail from Whitney to Madawaska, hopefully that's safe enough for us to point out. You could walk that for free. And then perhaps the trestle trail, so that, you know, a visitor arriving in Whitney can look at this map and see, oh, you know, I can walk to this nice bridge lookout point there and back right from the village. And then the other thing is we have the SLBM trail network, which is adjacent to one of our lodges, Spectacle Lake. That's a free trail system within our township that I think is an undiscovered hidden asset. And I wonder if we can somehow incorporate that.
Sorry, I got cut out there earlier, and I don't know what happened. And do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. It went off and then finally connected itself again. So anyway, I'm just nervous about our liability if we post trails that somebody may get lost on, because due to Google Map, I met a guy coming to pick a fridge up for a friend of his at Macaulay Lake with a brand new Dodge half-ton, extremely shiny and high-end, in by hardtack last year. And it had scratches all over it because he got going past hardtack through that brush until he come to the washout in the road. So I guess I'm just thinking, even some of that should be left to people to explore, but I want to keep the liability away from the township. That's all.
Yeah, so I guess the summary from what we're hearing is we don't want this map to send people into the deep wilderness, because the people looking at this map are probably just the day visitors that are looking for a more scratch the surface kind of experience, correct?
I agree.
So I think if we just, indicate the rail trail, I feel like that's pretty safe. It's, to me, no different than a road. And then, we could maybe put like some kind of natural lookout at the trestle and indicate that there's a trail there. So Richard, you probably didn't hear, but we talked about this Spectacle Lake system. So there's a system that actually has its own website. It's a pretty amazing set of trails in there. I wonder if we just indicated, is there a parking spot there that we could indicate?
Yeah, I can answer that. There is pretty much very close to Spectacle Lake Lodge. There is, yeah, that's the thing. There's no like official trailhead, except unless you literally go and park at Spectacle Lake and speak to any of the people at that restaurant. Unless that becomes sort of the hub for that trail network. But then again, that raises the question about, which businesses are we identifying and not identifying.
Are we walking it, or is it an ATV trail, or what is it?
I think it's a non-motorsport trail. So skiing, hiking, and snowshoeing. I'm not 100% sure if ATVing is allowed, but I'm pretty sure snowmobiling is not.
See, there's not a designated parking area for the trails at all.
So I wonder if that's the kind of thing that business is maintaining for their guests and is kind of opening it to the locals as a courtesy. And maybe we should not go advertising something that I think that's part of the issue that we see here is that, things go on cordially for a long time and then they get exploited and then they turn into something they don't want to be. And I almost see that that's kind of what's happening there with that business maintaining those. Does anyone agree with that, or am I?
I totally agree. And there are people that go out and brush cut and walk those trails and maintain them. But that is done on a voluntary basis, stemmed from Spectacle Lake. There is a group of people, if you like, linked to Sharon and Spectacle Lake there, that go out and take the clearing and the safety of those trails onto themselves. So should we be maybe just indicating that there are trails and no more than that? I agree with you, most definitely.
When I look at Hay Lake,
it's Joe here. There's also that Bear Mountain hiking trail that was created by, I think, a federal government grant 25 or 30 years ago. And there was a parking lot created, but it hasn't been maintained and it's growing over. And you can, if you don't know it's there, you'd have a hard time finding it. It's just that we do have a 911 marker at the trailhead of that Bear Mountain hiking trail. And almost always there is at least one car parked there. It's very popular with, I forget what it's called. Wilberforce promotes themselves that they use a GPS and find a hidden icon.
Geocaching.
Yeah, geocaching, yes. But the parking lot that's there, it hasn't been maintained at all, and it's overgrown. It's really in bad shape.
Richard here, Holly. I think you're well aware of the amount that those trails the Couples Resort has that lead into Algonquin Park from here, from their resort, and they're all intermixed in behind where I live here. And again, I'm pretty sure there's the lodge at Hay Lake has a color symbol walking trail for their guests. So I'm nervous. I think we should just leave those off.
I have a suggestion. Instead of putting the trails on the map, if you did decide you wanted to include them, you could just say, check out local hiking trails, go to these websites.
A lot of them likely are not the ones I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think a lot of good points are being raised here, and I think what we're arriving at is that perhaps like we actually have a wealth of trails, many of which are not very openly publicized. So what I'm hoping is that with this wayfinding map, we can at least, we've identified, okay, the rail trail from Whitney to Madawaska, liability wise, that seems to be pretty safe. It's wide enough, it's easy to find from both of the villages. So perhaps that's where this wayfinding map can send people. And then perhaps with a more detailed info guide, maybe off to the side, we've been talking about this, another edition of this wayfinding map that perhaps maybe the BA can look after and update a little bit more consistently. And perhaps maybe from that jumping off point, people can find the more advanced trails. I don't know if that makes sense.
Should we identify, for liability reasons, the one that we talked about, you talked about there on that railroad track from one end of our township to the other, going down past Dale Lake, and the other one going from Whitney Lake St. Peter, and just identify them on the map as Ontario snowmobile trails. That's what they are.
I don't even know if we need to go so far as to say snowmobile trail. What if we just put a mark on it that said trail, and let people figure out if they can take their bike or their bicycle or their feet or their dog or whatever. I don't think we need to pull people down the trail. Let's just, there's a road there, you can walk down it. There's a trail over there, you can figure out what you want to do on it.
And I'm also sitting here thinking that like the trails are important, and they're great for residents, they're great for visitors, and maybe there's a side project, and maybe like I know the township of Madawaska Valley had put out, and Annie would know more about it, some sort of trail guide. And because hiking trails, they're pretty complicated and pretty specific, like you couldn't do justice to putting a trail on this map anyway, but it would be kind of cool if it was like, find out more about hiking, ATVing, and snowmobiling, go to the Township of South Algonquin's website and download trail maps. So that would be a whole other project, perhaps for another year, where because there obviously is value in these trails, and they're there and nobody knows where they are and nobody knows who can use them. So maybe create an inventory of the trails, get them GPSed, and drive people to the township's website and make it, something in addition to that.
I just went away and I was able to find it. Spectacle Lake, even if you're having a takeout or anything, has their own flyer. I'm just sort of holding it up here, and they've done exactly what you suggested there. They have a flyer with all their trails and their trail map available. So they've actually done their homework, and it's Spectacle Lakes, Bear Mountain and Burnett Mountain. They've actually produced a very nice flyer themselves. So they've done exactly as you suggested.
And that would be a great way to support all the businesses and locations in the area and keep people in the township. Again, they don't have to all go to Algonquin Park. Like, you know, if there's a million cars at Centennial Ridges, well, there's a fantastic hiking trail in South Algonquin.
Okay. So I think we've agreed somewhat on the trails. I think Beth and Anya did some research around the township in the wintertime, and they were pretty impressed by the amount of winter plowing we do for parking areas. So they both had noted to me that if we're going to spend that much energy plowing, we should be really letting people know where those are. So I've put that on here, that we should probably indicate where our winter parking areas are. I'll do a little bit more discussion with Dave on that to make sure that they're safe summer and winter, and that we should be mapping them appropriately. And it'll be just a logo if everyone's in agreement with that.
Yeah, I like the sound of that.
Okay. We talked about Algonquin Park access points. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's 3 official. Beth, can you correct me if I'm wrong? There's 3 official in our municipality. One's at Allen Lake, one's at Hay Lake, and one's at, Gale Airy. Is the one that I'm thinking, is one at Shall Lake?
Yes.
Right. So those are 3 that are officially by Algonquin Park called access points.
There are, well, okay, so you probably can't see this. I'm holding the park map. There are 3 that are actually in the township, yes. So one at Gallery, one at Hay Lake, and one at Allen Lake. And then there's one way up Major Lake Road that's within Algonquin Park, but is accessed via the town of Madawaska.
So I guess the question to council is, where do we identify these? So for example, you know, Gale Airy, you go on at the dock and that's your access point, but it doesn't become Algonquin Park until you're up almost into the smaller part of the lake past kind of, I guess everyone knows. So where should we be putting that this is an Algonquin Park access sign or symbol?
I'll go ahead and jump in. I think the most important symbol that people see is the boat launch symbol, placed directly from where you can launch your boat. And then maybe perhaps towards the township and Algonquin Park boundary, maybe on that boundary section, we can put the yellow Algonquin Park portaging symbol. So then that way, when somebody's looking at the map, they see the boat launch and then they see the portaging Algonquin Park symbol. You put the 2 together, you launch your boat so that you can go into Algonquin Park and portage further inward. That's just my 2 cents.
I think I pointed out before that you can't actually paddle to Algonquin Park via Hay Lake. There's a strip of crown land between Hay Lake and Algonquin Park that's in most places about 5 kilometers wide. I don't really know why anybody is designating Hay Lake as an access point to Algonquin Park.
Well, actually, they paddle up the Little Hay and branch and in through there to Cauliflower, and it's straight. If you were standing at the landing, which is considered the access point and where the parking lot is, if you look straight west and paddle directly up that bay to where it narrows, that's where the portage is.
It's quite a long portage though, Richard.
Yeah, the portage isn't that long, but it's quite a long paddle. The same at Ale Lake. Ale Lake, the boat launch at Ale Lake, or the where they get permits from the guy that sells them there, unless they're all online now. But they were to get them at the landing, and however, most of the locals drove around to I guess on west side of the lake and parked up there. But really, the launch that they on the canoe route map is on both them places is identified, one at the Ale Lake Landing and the other at the public boat launch at Hay Lake and also at Gay Larry. But I hear what Bongo is saying. It's just that you might at Hay Lake, if you were standing at the boat launch, you can see up that Narrows at Hay Lake. In the same at Gay Larry, you can see up the lake. So if the symbols was at the park line at Ale Lake, I guess it would tell you the same thing. It's just that it's slightly different as I see it. But I know a lot of the local people would never go into Robitaille or Elsevier or Wilkins wouldn't even consider going up the lake. They'd likely go by drive around. Joe likely knows more about that than I do.
Yeah, both Joes. I used to fish in Wilkins a lot.
Yeah, you
That
drive
is
around.
correct. Sorry, I was having a bite of a muffin there.
Yes, you always drive to the gate and then walk.
Yeah, the majority of the people don't even come up the lake anymore. They drive to the end of North Aylen Road. There's portage signs already there.
Yeah, for sure.
So one of the things that I know Algonquin Park is working on this summer is their new online permit purchasing system. And it's my understanding that that's going to come with a sign that says you can buy your permit on your cell phone. So maybe I will reach out to Algonquin Park and find out where they're actually putting those. Because I know for sure there's one going at the Gay Larry Lake launch that says don't forget to buy your permit before you go off the dock. So once we know where those are, maybe that's the answer, is that we put the access point symbols at those. Because, you know, all these other ones that we're talking about are maybe unofficial entrances to the park, and maybe they should be coming to the east gate to buy their permit or somewhere prior to going kind of off the beaten path. So if everyone's okay with it, I'll find that out and then we can use that information.
But the parking at Gay Larry and Hay Lake would generally be where it is today. And if you listen to the both Joes, and I'm quite familiar with it myself, is the local people especially. And once you've done it once, you likely or paddled it, you certainly wouldn't do it again at Ale Lake. You'd do what everybody else does, drive around the side of the lake and up to you can drive right to the park line.
Okay. So do we put the symbol at the park line then, just where the park crosses that lake, or where the I'm not sure.
I guess where are the people going to park? I don't know.
I would leave it right at the boat launching ramps.
Okay.
Same as it is right now.
Yeah, fully agree.
That's where it is on the official park map.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, great. Okay, so OPP station is unofficial. It's not here anymore. There's no one staffing it. The OPP are still using it. There's a phone there on the wall, I believe, if someone needs something. So I wonder, should we put it on the map knowing that it's not staffed?
So I have a comment about that, Holly, because I asked at the last CPAC meeting if that station was still active. And the new sergeant there, the commander, he told me that yes, that staffing is there, and they actually respond. Their area of response is far beyond the west gate, his area, and that is an active station.
Oh, okay.
So whether their determination of active is only for in regards to personnel for scheduling, or there's actually people there.
Well, I think, sorry, so that would probably be my misunderstanding then. So when the person who just retired, she was there as an administrator for years and they didn't replace her. So in my mind, that was, you know, there was somebody at that building every day. But they are, like, you can see there are people parked there. There are OPP coming there, picking up cars and going out for their shift. So maybe that's what they consider active.
Yeah.
So yeah, if their answer to that is that they're still using it, then we'll mark it as such.
Okay.
I think that we will probably mark call 911 if you need help, so that people aren't going there and there's nobody there. So we could maybe just put that symbol on and indicate.
It seems to me it's just a satellite station, basically.
Okay, that's good information. Thank you.
Did you say there's a phone there? Did you say there's a phone there that possibly links to Killaloe?
Sorry?
The phone may link directly to Killaloe.
It probably does, and I can double check with that. There has been a phone there for a very long time, and I'll confirm that it's still there. But yeah, I can double check with that.
Okay, because we say everybody has a cell phone, but if there are people that don't have a cell phone or can't use it, what have you, the fact that there is a phone there and they can call for help from that point may well be something to put on the map, definitely.
Okay. I think we've kind of talked 7 over enough. If I think we'll probably stay with the focus that we've had today as far as the additional information and
Holly, before we leave that, are we going to discuss these roads that shouldn't be on there?
I would just like people to give me if there's roads that they can see. I made a mistake with pointing out Kenny Road because that is actually a municipal maintained road. But I would like to get the private ones off. We talked a little bit about Lansdowne coming off. So yeah, you can talk about it if you want, Richard.
Well, I just looked at going out of Whitney, going south to the power line. And I know that's a road that leads to the park to public use. But it's pretty scary when you just go past the mill and you see a sign, beware of the log trucks. And you know, personally, I know how they run those roads with radios, and they got the mileage markers. And if you get in between there,
I think we've lost Richard. My recommendation would be just to end the road at the mill if everyone agrees with that. I think anybody local considers that a trail. One thing, there are a bunch of cottagers at Hay Lake that do use it, but I don't think that it's something that needs to be included on this map.
I agree with you, Holly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There have been people on their GPS units indicate that they go down that power line to get to Halliburton.
We've actually put a sign.
And they've made it as far as just past Madawaska Lake turn. And that's as far as you go.
We've actually put a sign up there that says this is not a through road to Halliburton.
That's good.
So, okay, if we'll just essentially end that road at the mill.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
sorry, I got kicked out again.
We solved your problem. We just all agreed that we're going to stop that road at the mill.
Okay.
Okay.
With regards to Lansdowne, we have had people trying to come down here, down Lansdowne, and actually down private driveways, thinking that they can fish onto the river directly from our properties. So I think from that point of view, and again, there is no turnaround area if someone's coming down here with a trailer or anything other than an ordinary vehicle. There is no turnaround area. It is a dead end. So maybe it is safer that it is removed. People see it alongside the river and think, oh, I can go along there and fish. And that obviously isn't the case.
You likely know which roads are township maintained and which ones are lanes. And I just don't feel we should put any lanes on this map.
Agreed. So I think that we've talked a little bit between Tracy and Beth about getting some corrected information. So we'll make sure that staff go over it with a fine-tooth comb and we get any private laneways, driveways, etc. off the map. We don't want to be sending people down those at all. So we'll make sure that we double check that.
Okay, great. Thanks.
And is there anything else before? I think we've gone through the whole list and we have been pretty productive this morning. Does anybody have anything else regarding the map? I think we've agreed that Allen Lake pop-out is coming off and we're going to resize pop-outs. And other than that?
And you're going to make it as large as you can?
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
Richard, on the map, it shows the road going right around at Mackenzie Lake. That's incorrect, isn't it?
Well, what it is that's the Old North Road.
Oh, I know what it is.
Shouldn't be on there either. Hidden towards Lake St. Peter. It should likely stop. It's part of a Skidoo Trail now. It's the access to all those properties. Those east and west Hastings road lots that run up through there on that side of the lake. So it's not maintained, Joe. So I guess as I mentioned earlier, it stops right at the corner of the lake. That's the last word. And Dave would be able to give you that information as to exactly, but it's pretty well at the corner of the lake.
Yeah, I would suggest that we end it where the maintenance ends.
Yes, I fully agree.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, I think that was a very productive, detailed conversation about wayfinding, and I'm looking forward to seeing the next draft of the map. Unless anybody else wants to add anything else, we'll move ahead to number 6, unfinished business, with the first bullet being economic internship.
Yeah, am I muted? Sorry.
No, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you. So I just have a quick recommendation. It seems like forever ago now, but Bongo and I and volunteer Lynn went through the interviews. We interviewed 5 people, phone interviews prior to COVID. Oh, you know what? I think before we do that, we can probably let Beth and Anya go. You guys have been great this morning and thank you for your time. And I'll double back. I've taken notes on all of our discussions, so maybe we could have a meeting. I'll double back with you this afternoon and we'll figure that out.
Thanks, Holly. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So going back, we did do the interviews. We interviewed 5 on the phone prior to COVID. We had a local young lady. I don't know if many of you know Julia McKeithrin. So she would be Kirk's granddaughter. I don't know why I introduced her that way, but I think she did very well in the interview. We were all very impressed with her energy and the way that she talked, what she knows about the area. She's just graduated in May from a college university program in Ottawa, and she's interested in getting her feet wet with this internship. So we, as the hiring committee, recommend her to council, and I welcome any questions that you have. I can give you her resume if you're interested, but if not, I will put that recommendation forward at the meeting in June. And she meets the requirements of the grant, so I don't see any problems with it.
Is that one of the grants the government's paying for? Or
yeah, so this is
on TV now. There's new grants or something?
No, this is a one-year heritage in Northern Ontario Heritage Organization grant. So we were given it kind of October, November, and the intention is to hire an intern just to work on economic development. So some of the things that we talked about her doing were a bit more social media strategy, working on some of these things like the mapping, as well as the project that's going on with Brock University. So it's kind of a specific set of things that she'll be doing, and hopefully maybe some stuff out of the Chamber of Commerce as well.
Perfect. Good.
And just to add to that, I did have a conversation with Chris Fullerton earlier this week, and he's actually applied and been successful in getting an intern for South Algonquin for the eco museum project. So they did start those interviews just before COVID, and they're hoping to get some people on the phone in the next couple of weeks. And then they're hoping over the summer to get in and get some good work done on that project as well. So that's good news as well.
Good.
Awesome.
And Holly, what is Julia's start date?
Our goal right now is the week, I think it's July 6th, the week after the long weekend. And it's obviously fluid with what's happening with when we're getting back in our office and that kind of thing. So yeah, the goal is the first week of July.
Okay, perfect. And when you mention about social media strategy, is that something that we have to give you direction on about which social media channels to bolster, or what the overall plan is to do with her time dedicated to that?
Well, I think that one of the things that I'm hoping that she can do, so I'll be honest, right now I'm running social media and it's not effective. There's a whole bunch of science behind social media and when you post and what you post and who you're targeting, etc. My concern is this is a one-year internship, so I don't want to, you know, do this gusto of social media. We're everywhere all the time for a matter of 6 months and then have nobody to keep it up. So I'm going to have her research, you know, what's Lake of Bays doing, what are other places doing, that is, what can we kind of prop up in advance to be able to make it sustainable. We want to bring people to our social media for certain things. So, you know, getting information out about emergencies or getting information out about training that we're doing, etc. But I don't want to do 1 year of we have someone dedicated to this and then have it just fall on its face. So that's kind of the approach that we're going to go at, is how do we make this, how do we keep it slow and steady without getting a whole bunch of people and then having nothing for them to look at. Does that answer your question?
Kind of. Like, for example, you know, we obviously we have a Facebook page, we have a new YouTube page, and I believe there is a non-active Twitter account as well. So, you know, the question is, what, aside from us posting, let's say, our meetings on YouTube, like, are we going to have the goal of uploading maybe a video every month or something like that? And I know you've also touched upon the fact that, you know, we want to have a social media strategy that will be sustainable. So, I mean, is, like, once Julia's contract is done, is that it? Or is there potential for her to remain because, you know, having a sustained social media strategy, I think, might be a good thing?
Yeah, so, I mean, my goal would be that we'll extend her contract through grants, or, you know, maybe we'll be able to show that there's enough value in it that it could become a position. I'm not sure of that at this point. I think that the grant originally was a 2-year. We were approved for 1. When I went back and asked them why that was, they essentially said, demonstrate to us that it's working. So that'll be my goal, is to demonstrate that it's working, and maybe we'll get 2 years out of it. Or maybe we'll, you know, maybe we'll find something through her being here that will make it more sustainable. We have to start somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's an exciting place to start.
Yeah.
Was there anybody from council that wanted to add anything with regards to the economic development internship? Okay, super. All right, so we look forward to that further developing at the beginning of July. And the next bullet on the agenda is the cell towers discussion about improved service.
Yeah, I wanted to bring this up again because ever since COVID began and the usage has increased, the cell service where we are has, I don't know what it's like for everybody else there, but I would imagine for Richard Shalla, it's bad as well, because he keeps getting kicked off. I've been kicked off 3 times on this meeting already. The download speed that we have here on a very, very good day is just below 5 megabits per second. And that is absolutely brutal in the best world out there. And I went out and took a bit of a drive the other day, and I did, I used an app for download speeds. And when I went towards Madawaska, I was able to get up around almost 20 something megabits per second, and down towards Barry's Bay, it was around almost 30. And I guess in layman's terms, that has to do with bandwidth. And the bandwidth is what we're having issues with here. And from an economic development standpoint, where we are, lots of people on the lake that are moving to this area aren't just coming to sit at their dock. They're actually trying to run businesses from their home. And we're struggling right now. For me personally, I find it very, very difficult to even run a business from here now because of the poor signal strength. My contact on the lake that does maintenance for the cell towers here, he generated a conversation on the Facebook page for the Cottagers Association. And basically, the gist of it is the squeaky wheel is going to get the oil eventually. So we've tried to generate people calling, complaining. You have to call into tech support. There's a specific number to call into, and then you have to reference the specific tower, because when I called and I didn't have that tower number at Spectacle Lake, which is known as Tower W1371 Aylen Lake. The guy I was talking to, who was out in the field, had no idea where I was. And he basically put me on the Barry's Bay Tower, and he says, you shouldn't be having any problems. And I actually got the information for the tower later, and I generated that when they called me back on the ticket and told them that information. And the only thing they can do for us right now is they credit me $130 on my bill. But that, I don't even care about that, because it does nothing for my service. I'm paying for this big service and I'm getting nothing for it, basically. What I would like from the township, I guess, if everybody, you know, and I know you guys have been down this road before, but I would like to produce another letter. And I would like to generate this on an ongoing basis, because if we don't keep whining, nothing is going to get solved here. There's supposed to be new funds coming out, and I think this atmosphere during COVID might be the best time to continually do this. We're doing it from an individual user standpoint here, and I would kind of like the township just to say, look, we're behind our constituents. We need better care. We need better, not care, we need better services for our internet provider, because I don't know how it is for everybody else out there. Are you all on cellular? Because that's how we get our internet here.
I am. I'm on cellular. And because of where my location is in Madawaska, even though I'm only 1.5 kilometers or so away from the tower, it's up over a hill. So I'm probably coming off the same tower as you are, Joe. The one
Okay.
which is like 8 kilometers away from me. I have to stand still in a certain spot in the house in order to be able to make a call. But
do you have a booster at all, Joe?
No, but I have a Wi-Fi, but that doesn't help me for the calls, but it helps for my internet service.
Right. So yeah, that's the other thing. A lot of us here have invested money. Like I invested almost $2,000 in a booster that takes that cell signal and then boosts it into my house. And, you know, my signal strength is in a decibel form. And if you're at -120, that's almost non-existent. So with my booster, I'm sitting at -110 on a good day. And it should be up around the -50, -60 mark. My contact on the lake has said the best thing for this particular area, and it would probably work for other areas too, is it's not a repeater tower, but basically it's one of those towers, kind of like what they have at the west gate of Algonquin, the flag poles. Those are actually cell towers there. The fake tree ones further inland. And that's what we would really need to boost the cell service here, because that is the biggest complaint. Even a lot of the American contingent that can't come to the lake this year, they would actually like to come and stay longer and run their businesses from here. But it's the cell service that keeps them away from that.
Richard here. I heard you mention my name, Joe, and I don't know, but I was kicked out 3 times prior to mentioning it first there this morning. It's kind of frustrating. I believe 4 more times. On the 3rd time, I had to get right out and get back in. And the next 4 times, I believe it connected itself. So I don't know if that's happening to everyone else. I didn't touch anything.
No, it happened to me too.
A number of times?
Yeah, 3 times minimum.
Oh, I was 7 in total. And I thought I had good service, but I fully agree with everything that Joe has said, because Sabine Ward, there's same thing. There's a lot of seasonal people, but there's a lot of permanent people there that have moved up here and they want to operate their business, and they're having a lot of trouble with cell service and internet, and Bell's steady working along the road, and they have a tower basically in the center of Sabine. I don't think it's on the highest hill though. And Hay Lake is difficult to get, and so is Mackenzie Lake, very difficult to get reception. And I think we should be pushing for better service throughout the township.
I think so. I agree with that.
If I could comment, I think that the timing is very significant. And I think after COVID, things are not going to be as they were before. And I'm wondering how our children are doing at home that are supposed to be doing online education. I would think that's not happening. And
Exactly.
I think that's going to become the norm for education. So we could tie that all together. You know, it's a shame, and it's very important. So I think we need to come up, as you say, Joe, with a communication plan that we can just keep getting the information out there to back to Bell or whoever we're going to be talking to.
I think it behooves us to generate a letter of complaint of the poor service. You know, the constituents are paying, myself included, are paying a lot of money for internet, and they're not giving you a refund out of their good graces. You have to complain and whine and complain to get anywhere. And it took a lot just to find that right number to get the tech support guy. And basically he kept telling me, he says, you have to keep calling.
But the problem is not just like you mentioned earlier, the refund is, if you have an important business dealing and it goes sour because of this.
Yep.
You know, that's your livelihood.
And from a personal standpoint, like it's frustrating to get kicked off on this Zoom call, but I was on a Zoom call with my 89-year-old mother who is in a lockdown home in Ottawa, and I get to see her for 15 minutes every 2 weeks on Zoom, and we got booted out 3 times on that call. So like the technology is there to fix this. We just need to whine a little louder to maybe get this accomplished.
I live in Paradise Road, Joe, and I'm on FiberNet internet, and I have not noticed any decrease in services, slow speeds, or anything. And my bill for a month is $85.82. Unlimited, no interference, nothing. I don't understand why I can get it on Paradise Road and other people within the municipality can't. Madawaska. I understand Madawaska doesn't have FiberNet.
No, we don't.
Have they, Joe? No, we don't. No.
Just as an example, I'm not going to name names, but mother of a school-age child that's been pretty active in learning, her internet bill is $400 a month in Madawaska.
Well, I talked to people that are paying some pretty substantial bills here recently too. So
we've been on fiber optics for about 2 years now.
And
our bill has
all the difference, Dave.
Our bill has not gone up at all over 2 years.
Fiber optics makes all the difference.
Well, how come I can get it and nobody else in the municipalities got it on the highway or places like that? I don't understand that.
See, I know when I lived in Moonstone, which was a hamlet, and they had a Bell building there, similar to what they have at Aylen Lake. It was just a little bigger, but they ran fiber optics into that, and then everybody on their regular phone line would get DSL service. And DSL is pretty good. It's pretty fast. And that could happen here too, if they would just take the initiative to run those fiber optics in here and upgrade a little bit. Like they could act, the technology's there. They just don't want to do it.
Technology's there, but let's get it done.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree.
Joe, in Madawaska, they have fiber optic to the Bell building that they come to service, and they actually run a line to the public school before it got sold. So now that Northern Rural Net, they built a tower at what formerly was the public school, and they're selling unlimited service. But the problem with it is it's direct line of sight.
Exactly.
And if there's a tree between you and the tower, you can't get it. I had them here. I can't get it at my place.
Yeah.
Can I interject? Northern Rural Net are working very hard, but they are a private company. They've put another tower in at Riverland, and they've directed a transmitter down the river. But if a tree blows in the middle of me doing something, I lose the signal. As Joe said, it's direct line of sight, and they're battling with the trees. But in theory, they are actually a very private company, and no one is funding them at all. There is money out there for connection. Both the feds and the Ontario government said it had to be a priority. We're not seeing it out here in the rural area. It shouldn't be private companies having to wait till they've got a little bit of money to put another tower up, etc., etc. I think from a township perspective, we need to shout a little bit louder.
Yes,
if we can.
Agreed. And constantly.
I think we're all in agreement.
Good.
So just so this doesn't land on Holly's desk, do we set up a task force of counselors so that we do some of the legwork and put some of this information that demonstrates the severe lack of service here together to compile something? Just a thought.
Okay with that.
Maybe we could talk about the committee getting a group together at the next council meeting, if that's okay.
The next council meeting.
Yeah.
I actually believe it's an economic development issue too. So maybe it's something very much that our intern can get her teeth into, because without it, businesses can't run.
I think that staff and the intern can do the legwork of, I think what just this discussion you just had where Joey understands the technical aspects of things.
Oh, do I?
You did.
Glad I bluffed my way through that anyway.
You impressed me.
Hey, you're better than the rest of us.
I think that the issue is always having a pointed question. This is what we're trying to accomplish, so that you could take it to a Roma conference, or take it to an MP, or take it to someone. Like, we need to have, this is what we need, so that we're asking a pointed question. If a committee could create that, this is what we're trying to accomplish. We need a tower in these 4 locations that are going to serve this population, and it's directly going to impact our children, our economic development opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. If we could put that into a portfolio and just keep pushing it out, push it to Eorn, push it to—
That's what we need, though. We need Bell and or Rogers and the big players to do an assessment where those, and these are not big obtrusive towers. These are the ones that cottagers should be happy with, and that they don't have the big blinking red lights. That it needs to have an assessment done for this area, so we know where those locations are.
So is that something that maybe council needs to do? Maybe we need to hire someone to do an assessment, so that we at least say, this is in our hand, this is the report that says this is the infrastructure request. Like, is there something that we need to do to step forward? I mean, standing here saying it doesn't work is—
I wouldn't want to go to the point of hiring somebody private right now, because we're all paying money to these big 3 and let them do the work. We're paying for that. So the first step would be to ask them to do the assessment. Like, We're whining, we're complaining, we need this, it's required, we're paying for it. You need to do a reassessment here. The towers that you have are not servicing the growing population.
Okay.
You know, it's the topography here too. We have the hills and everything, but there's ways to circumvent that.
Okay. All right. So we'll maybe do do you want to do a subcommittee that's specific to connectivity?
I think personally a letter needs to go out to Bell, because Bell is the big boy, and off of the Bell Tower comes TELUS and a couple of the others. So Bell is the national carrier, if you like, and the others actually rent rooms off of, or rent, not rooms, rent space off of those Bell Towers. So I think Bell is our first line. I have tried to speak to Bell about internet, and they are saying, no, we don't think it's necessary, and it's not in the foreseeable future. Well, both the federal government and the Ontario government are saying, yes, it is important. So I think our first line should be to go to Bell and saying, you're not doing what you've been told you've got to do.
Okay.
There's a good discussion, like Holly, you're on the Alien Lake Cottagers Facebook page. And if you look through that and look for an individual's name of Jack LaRue, he generated the discussion in regards to the tower situation. So I would read through that first. And then if you have any questions, you can reach out to me.
Okay.
Super. Well, thank you, Councillor Vermeer, for bringing that up. As you said, I think the time is ripe for us to make a little bit more noise regarding this issue, because you know, COVID has really brought our entire society to this standstill where, you know, the internet is our lifeline right now. So and definitely our rural areas are being underserved, and the more noise we can make, perhaps maybe that will lead to results down the road. And then moving on to number 7, the bullet, adopting the word village to describe the 2 settlement areas in the official plan. Even in the earlier stages of this meeting, we had a very short debate about, you know, do we have hamlets or villages? And I was pleasantly surprised that even the branding team had spoken about villages as well, and what that word connotates and what it does for our brand. So what I'm proposing is that we can streamline the use of that word in our official plan, just so that that's reflective throughout. So I'm not sure if there's any discussion that we need on that, or what the next steps might be, Holly.
Well, I think we had talked last year about our official plan, and there has been just some discussion where in around about the time that we should be revisiting it based on when it was passed. The recommendation was that we hold off until the province issued what they were going to do, because there was some thoughts around the province creating some changes within the policy statement, the provincial policy statement regarding the north versus the south, or, you know, there's lots, it's pretty well known that the Planning Act is province-wide and it's very different in rural locations. So that information during COVID has been changed and issued. The County of Renfrew just finalized their update to their official plan. So I think that, you know, an official plan update is a pretty huge undertaking. It's not like something we're just going to modify a couple words and reissue it. It's going to take, you know, research and public input and all of that. And I know that we have been talking about that. So it's probably my recommendation that we update going into 2021. We include an official plan update in our budget. Going back to the village versus hamlet, I think you know, it is in the official plan. We do refer to them as hamlets. It's my understanding that you know, the No Municipal Association or the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing doesn't recognize those words. So a hamlet versus a town versus a village. The example that I've heard in training is the city of Kawartha Lakes. So that's called a city, but it's actually a county. There's other ones I just saw yesterday, the town of Ajax. So the town of Ajax is probably at a population at this point that should be considered a city, but there is no population or value that is associated with the differences of those names. It's really like a nuance or a wives' tale, if you will. So I think if council decides that that's something that's important to us, that we want to start discussing our Whitney and Madawaska specifically as villages, it's something we can do. We can do it through branding. We can do it through just the way that we speak. We can move forward. We could pass a resolution to say this is what we're doing, and then when the official plan is updated, we can include that in it. It's great. Council is welcome to have a conversation about it and tell staff what you'd like us to do. So
yeah, for sure. Like you said, yeah, just changing this one detail of the official plan doesn't make a lot of that much sense, as opposed to say if there were maybe 5 things that we wanted to update in the official plan, and perhaps this is one of those little minor changes that we could include in that when the time comes. I think you said 2021.
Yeah.
So that's what I personally would like to see. I don't know if there's anybody else on council that has feelings about this either way.
I prefer it's been a hamlet for the last 100 years. I don't really see any need to change it to village, although we don't fit in the actual definition as a hamlet. But it sounds nicer when you say you're from the hamlet of Whitney. And they'll say, and where is that? And what is that? You know, but just the change in name, it doesn't make any difference to me.
Okay. Super. So so perhaps maybe that's another discussion that we can save when we approach that time, when we're going to be updating a few things with the official plan, perhaps.
Sure. We could, I mean, it's something we could put a resolution on the table if it doesn't seem like anyone has any angst against it. We could put a resolution out to, you know, start to use the term village if that's something you're interested in.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to propose that as a resolution anyways.
Okay.
At the next meeting.
Okay, so we'll put that on the table at the June council meeting and you guys can discuss it further at that point.
Sounds great. Okay, so that moves us on to number 8, which is adjournment. So I'll just get a virtual motion from Dave and a second by Mayor Duma. And the time is 11:46 a.m. Did I miss anything?
Nope.
No, I'm just going to continue. I'm just going to let the YouTube roll. I wondered if we could just have a 5-minute break.
Yep.
Sounds great.
So if you just want to all mute while you're breaking.
All right, and we'll be back in 5 minutes.
I'm back. I'm just eating lunch.
I just did the same.
Yeah, I can see.
Sorry. I don't want to turn it off because I'm not sure if if mine will affect the YouTube video. And once you stop it, it starts a new file, and I don't really want to do that. So.
Just before the end of the last meeting, I went to turn my volume down. For some reason, it's really loud when Bongo is talking, and clicked it right over where it says leave meeting. So I got kicked out for a bit, but as soon as I got rid of the taskbar at the top, it came back on again.
Okay, we're just checking to see. I see Dave. I know Councillor Florent is here. Just waiting for the others there.
Bongo, are you too young to remember Pokeroo?
Pokeroo. Is that a TV show or something like that?
Yeah, it was like a little kids show, and they would stand with Pokeroo and they would say, "I see my friend Holly and Carol," and they would like pretend that they could see through their TVs, and it was like, you know, in the mid 90s or whatever. So whenever people do that in Zooms, I see Joey's here, I see this, I always think about Pokeroo.
Was that a Canadian show?
I think so. Yeah.
Just wait for Councillor Vermeer and Councillor Shalla.
Come on.
Okay, I see Councillor Vermeer. And I don't hear if Councillor Shalla is there or not.
Present.
He is present. Okay. Super. So I don't think we're missing anybody. We'll begin in a couple minutes. Okay, I'm going to guess that everybody's here. And we're ready to begin, I guess. Okay, super. So I will call the Human Resources, Administration, and Public Relations Committee meeting. The time is 11:55. I'm going to get a virtual motion from Councillor Collins, seconded by Councillor Shalla. Moving on to number 2, are there any additions or amendments to the agenda? Anybody?
I have a quick addition, Steve here. I'd just like to briefly discuss the sand tender, if we could. It's a bit of an administrative issue, the winter sand tender.
And if I could just go out on a limb and try to add something as well. I'm curious if we can continue the live streaming tradition, or rather procedure, even when we're back in the council chambers. I wonder if there's a way for us to, you know, we have that great microphone, which even if we don't have video with it in the chambers, I wonder if we can still live stream it to YouTube. If that is a possibility. And also, is there any possibility for us to use Zoom in the future, even if we are then safe to gather in the chambers? I just think it's a great productivity tool, and like I feel like we're missing something if we only use it for emergencies.
Okay, we'll add those 2 items under new business.
Yeah, great, awesome. Super. So moving on to number 3, with that, we'll adopt the agenda, or is that when I need the motions? This is.
No, it's okay. We're going to adopt the agenda as amended.
As amended. Okay, perfect. And moving on to number 4, if there is a disclosure of pecuniary interest.
I have to declare here because obviously with regards to the non-municipal road grant, there is a pecuniary interest for me. And that's why I've asked not to chair this portion of them or this meeting at all because of that.
Yeah. Myself Great. As well.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Councillor Vermeer and Councillor Collins, for declaring the pecuniary interests. Holly, I know in a chamber situation, they have to write something down on a piece of paper. Is there anything that they have to do right now?
I believe they've submitted, sorry, yeah, we should let the public know that. So I apologize. I should have mentioned at the beginning of the meeting that's the reason that Bongo is chairing this meeting, and thank you for that. And they've also submitted forms that will be put into the registry to Carla. Both Sandra and Joe have submitted forms. So thank you for that.
Do they have to claim every time? Because I believe they claimed conflict in the previous discussion regarding this. I don't know.
I don't know that either. I assume that I've seen people do it every time. I think it's just reiterating the conversation. From a registry perspective, I'm not sure what the answer is to that, but we'll get that answer. But I don't think it hurts just to remind everyone that they're stepping out of this conversation.
I feel a little bit upset that we can't contribute officially to the conversation as well, because I think we have a value to add to that conversation. I know we oughtn't be participating in any form of vote, but what does the rest of council feel about us contributing to the conversation in any shape or form?
If I could speak,
Sorry, go ahead.
if I could speak to that, it's very clear in any education sessions that I have attended that you declare the pecuniary interest, and it is actually recommended, and on previous meetings that I've been doing on Zoom, the people that declare the pecuniary interest either leave the room or they are parked in an area where they are not part of the conversation, and that is by the Conflict of Interest Act. So it is a requirement also of the Municipal Act.
Thank you, Jane.
So I'm sorry. So the question is, are we going to park these two councillors so that they are not part of the conversation?
Is it in their best interest?
Pardon? Oh, certainly it's in their best interest not to have anything to do with the conversation.
Well, if it's anything like the internet troubles I'm having right now, you won't have to do it. It's doing it on its own.
So if you guys want to hang up, I can text you when we're finished the conversation.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Since this is going out live on YouTube, that seems a little bit crazy. We can just stay quiet, surely.
I think
the rest of the world can sign in. It makes sense. We just stay here and just be quiet.
I think the idea is that you're not allowed to make faces and things like that. So why don't you just turn the camera off?
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah.
I agree. Just turn the cameras off and
yep.
Have a coffee.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so they're going to turn their cameras off. They'll go on mute, and we can move forward with the procedure, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, super. And yeah, that's the next thing, number 5, unfinished business, the non-municipal road grant program. Holly, did you want to start us off with this?
So yes, I think that council's received a couple reports. We've done some research into Madawaska Valley and some other municipalities that are doing this road grant program. We've had discussions about the changes or the differences of South Algonquin. I think Dave and Tracy created a spreadsheet for you that included the roads within our municipality that fall into this non-municipal. We've stopped calling it private and we're now calling it non-municipal. Some of the discussion was around Crown land and where we're going to stop or start providing people funding for Crown land roads. So that's really where we are right now. I think we can make this work for our municipality. It's just a matter of tightening the policy up and changing some things to be specific to us. Again, there's been questions around whether the effort on the part of the applicants is worth the funding that we're going to provide. I'll leave it to council. If you have more questions for us, we can answer them. And if not, I think it needs to be decided to send this to the council meeting in June for a vote so that we can either put a dollar value towards it and put it in the 2021 budget or not. So that's kind of where I am.
If I may jump in, I also want to note that to get an accurate measurement of these laneways, I think staff would have to drive them to get the proper distance if that's something that we are going to proceed.
Holly, have we done any estimate based on that formula that Madawaska Valley uses to get an amount of what the grant would be for South Algonquin? I would imagine that it wouldn't be a very large amount of money.
So the way that other municipalities do it is they put a dollar value associated. So I think this year, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Madawaska Valley put about 18,000 towards it. Yes. And it's first come, first serve. So they started it, they put a little bit, I think under 10,000 towards it. And as the program they feel has gotten more successful, they've increased the budget. But when I talked to Hillary about it, his response was that you could continue to increase the budget forever, but you have to say no at some point. And there is progress being made. And if they haven't gotten there yet, but if they get to a point where there's more applicants than there is budget, then they change the formula to satisfy that budget.
Well, we don't have to fund all the applicants in 1 year, do we? We can have can we not allocate a specific amount of money? And like you say, when that is done, that's the end of the grant for that year. And groups that didn't get it this year apply for it next year. It can work like that, can't it?
Yeah, and it's done really early in the year. So the intention is that if you want to do work next summer, you apply by September 30th. And so everybody should know well before Christmas whether they're getting the money next year or not. And then we know so we can put it in our budget.
Am I correct in thinking that this was just for properties identified as a lane?
That's my understanding, Richard.
That's what I thought too.
So are we confident that every private road in our municipality is a lane?
No.
No. A lane,
No, I'm not sure how that works.
I'm correct, was more than 3 property owners on the same road system.
So I'm not sure what you're saying then, Richard. You're saying that we're only going to let people whose road name ends in lane apply?
I think, well, that's, I think, believe what the motion was.
I don't think there is a motion.
I think there was a motion to, when we first put this on, when it first was on the table, I'll let Joe, I think, speak to this. I think he may have put the motion on the floor. I don't know. But I think it was only property owners. That was my understanding all along, that only ones with a lane on the end of their name would qualify or be able to participate.
I'm not sure, Richard. I can't remember. But it would make sense to me.
When I look at the Excel sheet, most of them are lanes, but there's a trail and an avenue and a trail and a few roads as well.
That's at the bottom.
Yeah.
The roads are township roads.
Okay.
I think but if we forgot about lanes and roads and avenues and said that it only included non-maintained township roads or roads not maintained by the township.
And I think that's why we started to refer to it that way. So we started with something called private road grant, and then we got into the discussion and decided that there's a whole bunch of different things. There are trails, there are crown land roads, there are forest access roads. So then we started to refer to it as non-municipal, so that the indication is that if your road is not maintained by us, it's maintained privately, then you could be eligible.
I thought that's very likely why whoever prepared it and only showed the lanes on there. I might be wrong, but I feel that
So Richard, I can speak to that. I went through all the private laneways and roads and that are not maintained by the township, and that put that on that spreadsheet. And then at the bottom, I had wrote that they're like, say, Dunn's Road, Pasqua Lake Road has properties beyond where we stop maintaining. So I've added that in there as well. I didn't do the mileage count because it's Dunn's Road goes way back.
If you look throughout our township, many of the properties are the road is beyond the township. It's basically a driveway, just like we have in our community. And when I look at the area that I represent in particular, and I'd like to think I represent the township on a whole, but if I look at Sabine Ward, when it was established and settled over 100 years ago, many of those farms traveled across other farms, 100-acre or 200-acre lots to actually get to the residents. And that's still happening today. So there's lots of basically civic address numbers on the edge of the township road. And those property owners at the end of that driveway are across a full 100-acre lot and some further. And we talked earlier there about, and Joe brought up about at the end of Mackenzie Lake Road. That's a long way up there, some of those driveways, and going towards Lake St. Peter. I'm not sure whether that was a lane or not. Possibly it is a lane. Used to be a tin camp or something it was called. Yeah, it is considered no, it just says tin camp. It doesn't say lane.
It says it's called Tin Camp Trail.
Well, and it's not a lane. So I guess what I'm saying is there's a number of properties there. Half of them are in the majority of them, I believe, are in Lyell Township, or on the border of it, which would be the east side of that East Hastings Road lot. So
I see I missed South Mackenzie Lake Lane needs to go in there as well.
So
but I think what needs to be decided is if A, we're moving forward, and B, we need to decide what we're doing for roads. So maybe council could go through this and bring it back at another meeting. I'm not sure, Holly, what you suggest.
If I could, I can see where it's coming from, and I appreciate somebody doing the work on it and bringing it to council to possibly assist the public in improving this road network. However, I guess if I could just give you my thoughts from the beginning on it, and I just think maybe the timing isn't correct. But anyway, during the civic address planning process, any private road leading to more than 3 properties would be identified as a lane and the necessary numbering. And any private road with less than 4 properties would only have civic address signings with an ABC lettering system. And considering we are discussing a policy for private road grant, there are a number of these things to consider, and I think the first should be, if the program was implemented, would it be discriminating against anyone else in the township from a single driveway property owner up to the 3 property owners sharing the driveway or roadway? And while I've been thinking about the policy for a private road grant from the township, I cannot overlook the fact that Pasqua Lake Road, which was part of the initial road package during amalgamation, and is partly in Sabine Ward and partly in Lyell Ward, and I do not feel it has received an average of a grading a year. And as a matter of fact, I do not believe a council member would want to travel it with their own vehicle. So basically, I guess I'm requesting that before the township spends direct tax dollars on a private road grant, for those signed as a lane, we upgrade all the present township roads to an acceptable safety standard. And as I mentioned earlier, I represent a ward with 2 settlement areas of over a century. One of them being in the McGuey Road location, and the other along the Mackenzie Lake Road network. And today there's still those property owners accessing their property across neighbors' 100-acre lots and maintaining them at their expense. And these, like I said, these.
Always go to I feel like this discussion has been ongoing for quite some time, and staff has been making effort to provide guidance as to what other people are doing, how we can make this work here in our municipality. I guess the question is, does council feel that they have adequate information to bring it to the June meeting for a vote? Because I understand that there's a lot of very different opinions on this. And I don't think until we actually vote on it, I don't think we can go forward any further. So do you have any questions that you would like further clarification on? Richard's talking about lanes versus naming the way things are named. I don't know that that's the way that we had gone forward. I think that the intention was that if it was a road that wasn't being maintained by the municipality, you would have an opportunity to apply for this grant.
Sorry, I got booted out again, and if I can just continue, and I have people with lanes, and I have people with private roads, and I want to be fair and upfront with everybody, and I'm looking at this and thinking about the liability, maybe possibly if we were to contribute towards, if it went ahead and we contributed to a group of property owners and they improve their road network, and then maybe the grant wasn't available later, we can think that maybe we're not liable, but there's a possibility that we might be liable. If someone was to get injured or get, or whatever may go wrong with that, that grant that we partially supported. So I'm a bit nervous and a bit, I'm thinking that I got such mixed feelings about it, and I almost hate to air them, but anyway, that's all I got. Thanks.
Okay, I think that staff has done their best to try to package this up in a way that council can understand it and consider it. Does council have any additional questions? Or I think what Richard's indicating is there's, strong pros and cons, and we need to decide if we're going to go forward or not. So does anyone have any problem with doing this?
If I could just make one more comment before you go, Holly. I got jumped all over by our cottage association about not informing them at various steps regarding a waste management issue. And I feel very obligated that they should be informed regarding this, but I want to wait for the right time to do it. So, and I will, before it becomes policy or whatever, but I just feel that's my obligation. I represent those people,
and if we go forward with it, I think there will probably need to be a public newsletter that goes out or something. But I guess the question today is, does council have enough information, or do they feel comfortable for us to put a resolution on the table at the June meeting for this to be voted on?
Yes.
So the resolution will be that we will put a dollar value in the 2020 budget, and between now and that budget time, we will develop the policy to be South Algonquin specific, but I think the initial question that we need to answer is, are we going forward with this or not? And once we go forward with it, we will iron out the details of the naming, the formula, the dollar value. Is everybody comfortable with that?
I agree.
Holly, can we not decide on a case-by-case basis whether the application is valid or not, instead of having a black and white policy on it?
I think that's what the policy needs to be, Joe. I think that when we look at the other people's policy, they've done what's right for them. So if council decides that this is something that we are going to put budget to, then we need to clearly say, okay, we're going to sit down and hash through these every year in October, or we're not. We're going to give $10,000 to it, and the first $10,000 applied for are what goes. I think those details need to be ironed out, but the first step is confirming, yes, we're going to have a non-municipal road grant policy developed. Because if we keep going into the minutia of what the details are that are going to work for us before we've ever even decided that we're going to do it, we're trying to manage all these variables with no budget, no, like, if we're going to do it, we can say, okay, here's a list of the 15 people that are eligible. Let's send them letters and tell them that this is what we're going to do. Or like I feel like we're trying to buy a car and we don't know if we want a Cadillac or an F-150. Like, we just need to decide that we're going to buy a car, and then we can decide all the details.
One of the reasons that Councillor Vermeer used to put forth this issue in the first place was accessibility by the fire department. Maybe we could get the opinion of the fire departments, which roads needs improvement to get their trucks down or not. I don't know if that's too big a task to put on them, but most of them would probably know for most of the lanes without even driving on them today. You know, if we're going to use some kind of
like after, do you mean after they've applied? Like if five roads apply and 3 of them the fire department agrees with, then we give those 3 funding?
Well, you could do it after. I would prefer that if it was done ahead of time, but you know, maybe, you know, part of the fire department's job is to explore accessibility and water sources and that, so it could be all timed together. And the new chief is going to, at some point when these restrictions on spacing is over, he's going to want to make himself more familiar with the area. So we could combine him being more familiar with the area with actually doing an assessment on all the lanes as far as accessibility is concerned.
Okay.
And we could use that information when we're making a decision on whether we're approving or denying an application.
Holly, if we donate money toward this cause and a group is successful in getting a grant, does that have any liability concerns for the municipality? Would we be responsible for the work they did because it's our money?
So I think I discussed this in one of those staff reports. So the intention is that we don't give them guidance. We don't inspect their work. They apply and say, this is what we're intending on doing. We say, yes, you're eligible, your project is eligible. And then they submit invoices to us and we give them the portion that they were eligible with. So what other municipalities do is stay as far out of it. It's really an administrative task more than a works department task. So it's really not anything to do with our road system, and we need to really keep it that way so that we're not being seen as people who are approving people putting culverts in. That's the other part of it is, you know, we need to upfront tell them if there's M&R permits required or there's DFO permits required or whatever. We don't have anything to do with that. We don't have anything to do with you getting approval for other agencies, and giving you this funding is not us approving your project from any angle.
Holly, correct me if I'm wrong. Did I see in the report that when a group of homeowners get together to create a association, they also have to purchase insurance?
So we did talk about that at length, and the reality of that is, for the amount of money that we're probably going to give people for this grant, it's not worth their energy or the cost associated. So I have a friend who's in the insurance business, and she said they would, in order for them to be able to buy that kind of insurance, they would have to create a board of directors. They would have to buy, directors insurance. That's kind of the avenue that went down. So other municipalities are not doing that. So when we started this conversation, one of the positives of it would be that these groups would create organizations and they would buy insurance, and that would benefit them and us. I think if we want to go, if that's the driving force behind this, then we're going to have to either reduce the number of applications and make sure that it's worth people's while, like they're getting a couple $1,000s out of this. Right now, the stuff that Madawaska Valley is doing, sometimes they're getting like $600. So for them, they're not doing technical things. They're adding a load of gravel, or they're, getting a ditch fixed or whatever. It's not really technical things. Now that their program has been in place for a few years, they are getting questions about, like, some people are saying, well, what if we don't apply for 5 years? We save all of our money up. Will you give us, $5,000 to replace this huge culvert? So it is evolving, and they are working with people on that. But at the start, it was very basic, non-organized. Here's just a little bit of funds.
Excellent. Yeah. And I can't recall if it was in the report, but what is our proposed budget for this program?
So we don't have one right now. I think a starting point would be under $10,000. We have no idea. And so, as Madawaska Valley said, it took a while for their program to get traction. I think they started really low. And it's taken them a few years to get people onto doing it. So I think the other, I think I talked about this at the last meeting, but state of the economy and the state of the provincial government right now, we need to be very cautious about what programs we're extending, because anybody who's been in the municipal world for any length of time knows that when the province is down, downloads happen. So somebody told me the other day we're in the trillions of debt. So I'm sure that there's going to be some downloads come from this.
We're going to get a major awakening very shortly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe I have a rhetorical question for the rest of the counselors. Somebody once told me that, what we do with public money is very, it's a very sensitive thing, right? So, as we're looking at this potential project, I don't know, how does everybody feel about the fairness of it? Oftentimes I feel like a lot of ideas are killed with the simple thing that, it's not fair for everybody. If we have to do this for some group, then that means that we have to do it for 3 other groups of people. So, is, just to play devil's advocate, is this a fair project?
Well, if I may, I think I mentioned that earlier, are we discriminating if we just selected people with lanes? Are we discriminating against others that may have a single driveway that's equally as long or longer than others? And at the same time, I also understand the revenue that cottage country brings to our township. So I'm kind of tied between a rock and a hard place, but at the same time, I want to be fair. And then I'm also thinking of the public funds, and these are direct dollars, direct tax dollars. And if when you look around in your streets, and in particular, possibly even where you live, Bongo, the number of vehicles driving by daily, they're on either seniors or on the doorstep. So you want to, that's what I'm thinking about, because I support those type of people too. And majority of those people, and then there's the cottage group that come in to the area I represent. So, and I'm thinking of those people, and they don't have that corporate pension, and I'm just wondering how it's going to look in the community. And that's why I mentioned earlier that I would definitely be, whenever we get a step closer, I would feel that I was obligated to notify the cottage associations to tell them what this is about, and the residents in the ward, so they can step forward.
Again, I think we have to be mindful of emergency services and not forget that most of us live on a street where the ambulance can pull right into the driveway without even thinking about it. The people on lanes or shared driveways or whatever name you want to attach to it, some of them are questionable.
So then, Joe, if you further that, do you think that one of the requirements of the grant would be that the objective of the property owners would be to make the road accessible by one of our big fire trucks?
Absolutely.
And do you think that's realistic? Do you think that that we would ever get one of our big trucks into some of these places?
That should be part of the assessment that the fire, actually, in my opinion, the fire department should already know which lanes they can access and which ones they can't. But part of that would be the initiation of the new chief making himself familiar with the area. And certainly I can think of a couple of lanes that I would be very leery of taking anything bigger than a half ton in. But if you know that when you're leaving the hall, that's what you respond with. There's no sense of taking a big tandem pumper into a road that, you know, you need like the F350 or 450 or whatever it is. But you should know that before you leave the fire hall, or it'd be nice to know before you left the fire hall.
I'm aware of the same type of roads, Joe, in my ward too.
Yeah.
And maybe that makes, maybe I could support it that way. Because there are locations, and I mentioned the seniors' needs, and a lot of these cottages are the same way. They're getting older, so
it's not strictly just the fire department, but I'm using the fire department as an example. It's for UPS, for the ambulance service, all kinds of different things. But the emergency services, I think, are the most important.
There are roads out there that require a lot of work, but we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. Do we put $100,000 into a road to access 3 cottages? You get the fire department into it? I don't know about that part of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of considerations. It's not just black and white.
Oh, definitely not.
And also, there's a responsibility on the property owners, and the one at the end of the lane, when they have some health issues, to ensure that if they think they're going to need those particular services, especially EMS, that they make that road. That should be a priority, to make it wide enough, or so that there's a proper turnaround at the end.
That's true. And another thing to keep in mind is that I don't think the purpose of the grant is to supply 100% of the funding to fix the road. I would assume that the people using the road would be putting in a substantial pile of money and then topping it up with the grant money from the township.
I have 2 questions for staff. First is, if this is approved, how, like, and then let's say we don't have the budget to, you know, let's say we do it 1 year, but then we don't have the budget for the second year. How is that decided? And I don't know, how do you see that fallout happening?
Well, I mean, you guys decide every year with the budget where money is spent. My feeling is, I think it's an old understanding that once you give people things, it's very difficult to take them away. It doesn't take very long for people just to feel like, you know, we did this one time and it's solid forever. So I don't know, like I had said before, we need to decide, I guess, if this money is coming out of other capital from other roads, then that's what we'll do next year. And then council will always, at every budget, have the opportunity to decide, just like you do with every item, really.
And my second question was, seeing as though this is a new program that's being proposed, how much extra staff time would this draw from you?
Well, I think it really depends on how it's managed. Like I've been saying, Madawaska Valley considers it an administrative process. They don't, you know, Hillary takes in the applications, he creates a summary for council. He puts the summary on the table and says, these are the 18 applications, this is how much money they're each getting, and they pass it with a resolution. It sounds to me like, you know, from what Joe or Councillor Florin and Councillor Schaller are saying, that they want to be more involved with the nitty gritty of who's getting what money and why. I think as soon as we get into that, there's going to be more work involved, because we're actually making decisions on people's applications, and we're going to require people to provide extra information. So I think other municipalities have done their best to not do that, to just say, this is how much money is available, this is the formula, if you're eligible, here's the money. So it's really up to council.
I would like to speak to this in the fact that I don't support it, and I won't support it. I think you buy your property, you have your home, you made a decision where you're going to be, then that should be part of your process as an individual to determine, you know, if you live on a lane, then you have neighbors and you deal with your neighbors or whatever. But we just put $6,000 into our driveway so that the mud hole that we have in the middle, the vehicles can get in and out. And I just think you own your property, deal with it. So I won't support this motion when it goes to the table.
I just about agree with you, Jane. People have purchased properties at the end of logging roads for years. A lot of the properties at Anna Lake, those roads were built by Murray's. Councillor Shaller's Pastoral Lake Road, another logging road. People bought the properties at the end of them because it was Pastoral Lake. Can they expect the municipality now to put a huge amount of money into a road so it's better for them to get to their cottage after years and years of no maintenance? We can't afford that. There are roads in our municipality who have a lot more people, are used much more frequently, that really require work now. And to take money from them and put into roads in the bush somewhere, I don't really agree with it.
Anyway, I guess it needs to come to the table.
Yeah, so perhaps Holly, that vote will come at the June meeting then, whether we're going to go with this or not, and then if it's passed, then we'll talk about the nitty gritty. Is that correct?
So I guess I just need direction. Do you guys want us to give a dollar value in that resolution, or do you want us just to put a resolution on the table that says South Algonquin will be offering a non-municipal road grant in 2021, and staff will initiate creating the policy?
I'd leave the dollar value out, Holly, because we don't know. We won't know.
So just a policy or no policy?
We might be jacking taxes up next year just to cover basic essentials. You never know.
I think the dollar amount could be decided at budget time if the motion passes to go ahead.
Okay.
If the motion doesn't pass, it doesn't pass.
So we'll just do the motion and then we'll know, and then we can get into the details. Everybody agrees with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, I'm gonna just text the other two and ask them to rejoin us. Sandra is still there. Oh, Joey's there too. Joey, are you on there?
If Councillor Collins and or Councillor Vermeer are there, you are welcome to join the meeting again.
Thank you.
Not sure. If you're back, you can just say hello. Okay, I can see Councillor Collins waving, and I see Joey Vermeer is also here. Okay, thank you everybody for that discussion. Thank you also staff for the very detailed report as well. It's much appreciated. So having wrapped that up, we'll move on to number 6, new business. The first bullet being the review of schedule of fees. Any staff member wants to introduce that? Or we're ready to just jump into the discussion?
Sorry, I was fumbling with the mute again. So again, this is something that we usually do early in the year, and COVID has kind of sent things a little bit off kilter. So I think Tracy and Dave, and I think there's actually a number of contributions to this, and thank you staff for doing that. They put it out to you guys. I know it only came to you yesterday, so you're welcome to review it a little bit further. If you have any questions, I think Tracy and Dave are both on the phone right now, and we'll hopefully put this a resolution, a bylaw to pass this at the June meeting as well. So I'll open the floor.
I reviewed it and I thought the changes were very minor. It's nothing to be concerned about in my opinion.
Great.
I have just one question. I noticed that sea containers have been included, and I thought that sea containers had been taken out according to our township plan. I'm just questioning why sea containers have been put back in.
They are permitted in a rural area, industrial. In some areas of the township, they are allowed.
Okay, so we need to have a look at the plan then and adjust that accordingly, because
the zoning bylaw? You mean the zoning bylaw?
Yeah, the zoning bylaw says no sea containers.
In some areas.
Yeah, in the villages.
Yes.
You can
And
have them in rural areas.
I think it's rural and industrial. They're allowed to have them. Commercial, I believe, too.
Okay.
And Tracy, correct me if I'm wrong. Could people not apply for a minor variance for sea containers? Is that not right?
Yeah, that would be probably a zoning bylaw amendment.
Yeah.
So we could look into that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so
I think there's, sorry, Holly, I think there's more and more coming into the township. And so it was something that Mike had picked up on, that it should specify precisely shipping containers to be included.
I think that they can be an eyesore, but they're also a very good asset. And it just, maybe if they're not visible from Highway 60 or what have you, or from the highway or the road, you know, or they're not sort of an eyesore, I think is important.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
You know, I looked at it, I think, I can't locate my schedule of fees, but I looked at them last night, and I don't think there was any issues. But when you talk about your sea containers, it's pretty hard to tell someone or convince someone that we shouldn't have them when we, as a township, put them in everybody's face.
I think again, they're permitted in specific areas, and the places we have them is a permitted use.
At the
works yard, that would probably.
No, multi-purpose building. Don't we have one of them there?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, so I guess that's what I'm thinking. Like, we should, I don't know, things like that just jump out at me.
Sorry, Richard, where did you say you broke up there? Where did you say the one was?
I said it's pretty hard to try to tell your neighbor that he shouldn't have something that we as township have put in place, and we have them at the multi-purpose building there in Madawaska.
Yeah, I believe they were put there prior to the zoning bylaw being passed.
Pretty, they might be, but anyway.
We can always amend the zoning bylaw if you want to put that on the table.
Oh no, I can see both sides of it. It's just, I think we just got to be a little bit more careful.
Okay. So if anyone, does anyone have any other questions on the schedule of fees? If you have any, you're welcome to contact staff. And if not, if we don't hear anything that is significant rewrite, it'll be, the bylaw will be in the package for the June meeting.
Yep. Okay, and I didn't think I had any comments, or I would have wrote them down and had it here, but I don't know where I said it.
All right, perfect. Yeah, as somebody else had mentioned, the changes were quite minor, so nothing too controversial there. And then earlier I had mentioned the thing about continuing a live stream even when we're in person. I don't know if this is the time to discuss that at all or not.
Yes, absolutely. So I see no reason. I guess the only difference would be we would have to buy cameras or use cell phones to be in the chambers, because obviously we're not going to have our computers in front of us. Although we probably could do that just the same, and just mute them. I don't see any reason to not do it. I know that people are uncomfortable with some people are uncomfortable with having their face on camera. So I guess that would be probably a discussion that we would need to have when we get back into the chambers. Does it really matter audio versus visual? It's not, other than being able to put the agenda up, which I do in the chambers anyway. I don't know that there's that much real difference, but we can definitely put it on the table and have a discussion about it if you like. Does anyone else have any feeling on that?
I kind of like it. That's surprising to come from me, but sometimes body emotions are quite apparent where you can't see that over just a microphone.
Okay.
Like if somebody's putting emotion and I'm smirking or something, it's kind of obvious.
Yeah, I have a terrible poker face.
Should we be discussing if somebody can't be at a committee meeting or can't possibly attend a council meeting, will it be permissible for them to call in then? That in the past has not been acceptable in the municipal bylaw, but after the COVID pandemic, maybe that will be permissible. It's
interesting, actually. So the way that the Ministry of Municipal Affairs amended they amended the act early in the COVID crisis to allow us to meet via Zoom, but they very clearly stated that it would only be during an emergency. So that's one of the caveats, is that because we're still under a provincial emergency, we can continue to do this. And some other municipalities interpreted that as we needed to declare an emergency to be able to do it. So they've very clearly stated that at the beginning, that this is something that is just for emergency purposes. Now, whether that will change, I think that the world has changed, and the amount of electronic things that we are able to do successfully is we've really proven it. So it will really depend on what the province does. But prior to this, they amended the act early to say you can participate through electronic means, but you can't vote. So that'll be whether or not they'll change that permanently. And if they do, then it'll just be a matter of us amending our procedural bylaw. But as it stands right now, we can't meet by Zoom, or you can't vote by Zoom.
Okay, thank you.
Holly, would it be possible for us to maybe write a letter and send it to the powers above us saying, hey, would you consider empowering local municipalities by allowing this remote meeting to be permissible in a non-emergency period.
Yeah, I mean, that's generally what people do with those supported resolutions, right? I don't know if you guys are following them. Are there any out right now that are promoting anything like that, do you know, that we could just support? Anyway, we can take a look at those, but yeah, we could pass a resolution to lobby MMAH to allow Zoom in the future, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if there are other councillors that feel that way, but I feel like that would be a letter that I would totally get behind if there is, if one doesn't already exist.
I like the format. I think it's beneficial if we kept this format, the ability to use it, because I think it would open up the ability for other residents that want to be involved in the local politics, but can't because of where they are, yet they're taxpayers here and they would like to get involved. Maybe this is the way that they can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you look at the statistics of, I think the last meeting was viewed 70 plus times. So I think that shows some really valuable public engagement, and yeah, I think continuing with the momentum would be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yeah, so I guess if you want to prepare those 2 resolutions, that'd be great. All right. Was there any other new business that we added, or was that all?
Dave.
The sand tender.
Yeah, I just had I guess an opportunity with this year's winter sand tender to consider screening winter sand for 2 seasons. I had budgeted for a single season. It would have a budgetary impact of about an extra $10,000, but we would have not have that cost next year. It's just kind of efficiencies of scale once the screener's in the pit. And we wouldn't need to draw anything in reserves at this point in time. Sometimes we find some savings through the year elsewhere in the departmental budget. And I'd like to look at screening for the 2 years if possible.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree as well.
Can I ask Dave, how often have you come close to running out?
Well, that's a matter of opinion. Our guys that have been in the dome, we've never been concerned. It does look concerning at times. This year we did quite well. We saved a lot of sand this year. Some years we're getting into the back of the dome. So
I guess what I'm thinking is, if you took the step and we agreed to it this year, and you had 2 years, basically 2 years plus is what you're telling me, because you had some left over. But if you have 2 years plus in the dome, and then next year you continue to put it in. So basically what you're doing is you're using a little extra reserve or whatever this year. You have that insurance. If we did get an extremely bad winter, you wouldn't have to maybe depend on Fowler, which we used to do in the past. We used to depend on, we had an agreement there, possibly before your time, Dave, with Krillian or whatever. Joe, you may recall that, where if we run out or we were in need real quick, we could get sand from Whitney here. But I guess all I'm thinking of is if you had that, it sounds to me like it's more efficient to do it now, but it would also be, we just continue next year with the sand. So what we really have is we have a year in the bank, if that's making any sense.
it is, you know, we screened an extra year in 2018 when we did the Allen Lake job, and we didn't run out in winter 2018, 2019, but it was close, and it was nice to have that sense of security that the pile was right there if we needed more.
So I support what you're suggesting, but I would recommend that next year we budget for it again, so we have that reserve. We always have a 2-year supply is basically what I'm saying.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, so having wrapped that up, Item number 7 is a historic moment when we move into a virtual closed session. What is the virtual procedure for this to do this correctly? Because I know, as you said, if you stop the stream, the video ends. So then after we're done the closed session, will there be a new video created just to indicate that we are officially closing the meeting after closed session?
No, so in that we're in a committee, there's no resolutions being passed right now. So we're going into closed session. I'm just, for those of you watching the video, we're going to pass resolutions at the next council meeting regarding these items that we're going into closed sessions for. So what I'm going to do is end the YouTube video now. And when we go out of closed, we'll adjourn, and all that we're going to do at that point is come out of closed and adjourn. So I won't create a video for those 10 seconds. I would like to encourage anyone watching to take a look at all the stuff we did today and contact your counselor if you're interested in commenting on the branding plan or anything else that we talked about. And I'm just going to now stop the video. So once I've done that, I'll let you know. Bongo.
Yeah. Do you need a motion to move into closed session?
Not in a committee.
Okay, right.
So